Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Get the string fruit and become a puppet manipulator. Chapter 61. Detoxification. Only I can solve her poison. Now Tsunade has lost himself to me, I will not treat her badly. Don't worry. Gia laughed at Shizune. He could actually choose other more effective ways to leave, but Gia just chose the slowest way to move and waited for Shizune. As soon as Shizune heard the meaning of the words, he immediately attacked, but one was caught by her hand, the other put Tsunade on his shoulder with one hand, and the other hand was just a hand. Restricting Shizune's neck, the silk thread has stretched out from the exhausted fingers, wrapping Shizune's neck in a circle. You are not my opponent, and you are still in a period of toxin weakness. Shizune passed through the neurotoxin just now, although the energy has been slowed down, but the body is still very weak, and the nerves used in her body are not simple neurotoxins but can mess up her consciousness. Shizune's psychology became more fragile toxin. Why are you willing to let Tsunade-sama? Sure enough, Shizune, who was already conscious and confused, immediately panicked. At this moment, like a panicked little girl, he scolded Sasori. See which step you can do to fall. The corner of Sasori's mouth was slightly curled, and Shizune's neck was tightened. Shizune suddenly exclaimed, and subconsciously wanted to resist. At that time, Sasori's playful tone and threat made Shizune forcibly endure the urge to resist. As expected, the effect of neurotoxin was surprisingly good. Shizune really chose to compromise, and the curvature of Sasori's mouth was even greater. Please, let Tsunade-sama please. Although Shizune was about to fall, she still did not forget to ask Sasori to let Tsunade go, but when she spoke, both her voice and tone were full of flattery and desire, and even almost turned into, please give me. That's not enough, kneel down and beg me. Shie withdrew his hand, his face instantly became extremely cold, just this level would not satisfy him. Sasori's commanding tone immediately made Shizune's body. Not only did Shizune feel humiliated, but there was a voice that kept shouting at her, don't resist. Go try, go cater, you will become very happiness. After a hard swallowing, Shizune gradually knelt down and knelt in front of her mother, but tears couldn't stop flowing down. Something deep in her heart seemed to be completely shattered with this kneeling. Shizune finally became clear. One of them knows that it is her pride and final dignity. I said that we will soon be our own, and you will definitely kneel down and beg me. Sasori sneered and raised Shizune's chin, repeating what he had said when he first met Shizune. This ending is what I had already expected. Do you know why Tsunade lost the game? It's all because of your lateness. Her fighting instinct made her avoid competing with me, but I caught you. She can kill other people, but she can't help you, so she chose to save you. From the moment she started to save you, she was doomed to fail, so if it weren't for you, Tsunade would never lose, because I might not be able to beat her in a head-on fight. No way. In order to completely defeat Shizune's defense, continue to attack Shizune's psychological weakness, and maximize her guilt. Sure enough, after her mother once again emphasized the reason why Tsunade was subdued, Shizune finally couldn't help but cried bitterly, covering her face. Sasori's desired effect has been achieved, and he no longer wastes time immediately, and said to Shizune. I don't see the beauty crying the most. I will give you a chance to save Tsunade now, depending on whether you want it or not. Let me tell you first, many people can't accept what happens next, you can choose to refuse. As long as I can save Tsunade-sama, I am willing to do anything. Exhausted request. Shizune didn't even listen to it, so she agreed without hesitation. Her mind is messed up now, but she only has the idea of saving Tsunade in her heart. If you can really do everything, then follow me. Sasori laughed. This was what he wanted. Zan even walked to the front of Shizune, walked towards the country of the wind, halfway through, suddenly turned his head and said to Shizune. Bring the pig you are going to send information with. If you don't bring it, you can. I just want to try roasting this pet pig if it tastes good. Shizune's body trembled, and Sasori could not imagine that he could see through it. When he beckoned, 267, at the far-off ninja pig and dolphins, the pig dolphins immediately jumped into Shizune's arms with a helpless face. Sasori stared angrily, but no matter how you look at it, the anger of a pig really has no power. You go back and report to Lord Third Generation. I will follow them. After Shizune left with Sasori, two Konoha's Anbu appeared on the edge of the battlefield where the two had fought. One of the Anbu spoke to the other and was about to catch up. Only two Anbu. It seems that Bienfei is very relieved. Tsunade, I really thank Konoha for the excellent experimental materials. The corpses of the great ninja are better than other effects. It's just that they didn't wait for the two to act, and the two suddenly drew out their own kunai and pierced the other's heart. Instant death. Sasori took back his parasite string, sealed the two bodies in the scroll with a disdainful smile, and was in a good mood. Today not only I harvested Tsunade and Shizune, but even Konoha's Anbu ninja corpses were also obtained. This is an indispensable material for human experiments, and most of the Anbu members of the Konoha clan have special skills, which are excellent. The material, like the virus and bacteria that Sasori put on Tsunade, was obtained by Konoha from the corpses of the ancestors of the Aburame clan. You don't have to follow me, otherwise I don't mind a few more experimental materials. After cleaning Konoha Anbu, Sasori glanced at the untouched shadow not far away, and immediately the shadow flickered twice and became a little lighter. With string fruit, there is almost no possibility of being monitored and tracked. He has habitually left thread for investigation in the places he passes by. As long as someone touches it, he will send information back to the exhaustion. After doing all this Sasori removed all the threads, turned into silk threads and disappeared in place. Ahem, I didn't expect it took so much time to gather the rebels from all over the world. It really disappointed me to be so vulnerable, but fortunately I found a good candidate, Sasori of the Red Sand, hehe. After a long time, a half-black and half-hundred figure emerged from the ground full of ruins. After observing the scene, he showed a disappointed look. It is not a coincidence that he is here. The rebel rally of various countries that Sasori killed was planned by him behind the scenes. He was originally prepared to cooperate and will soon face the woods. Yi launched an attack, but he didn't expect it would be cleaned up so easily. In the direction Sasori left, he looked absolutely interested, and then went underground again. Somewhere in the territory of the country, this was once a secret altar of the Cthulhu, but after the Cthulhu was destroyed, it was abandoned. After an operation accidentally discovered this place, he took it as a secret stronghold. Most human trials are done here. Screw doesn't worry about being discovered here. Whether it is on the ground or underground, he is covered with various detection lines. No one in this world can escape this kind of line that does not have the slightest chakra fluctuation and is difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. This is my secret laboratory. I will detoxify Tsunade first. You can sit down here. It's better to help me organize the laboratory. The first thing I need you to do is to be my laboratory assistant. It's not a professional medical ninja like you and Tsunade, many. After turning Shizune and Tsunade into the deep underground laboratory, Sasori placed Tsunade on the altar originally used to sacrifice the evil god, and began to draw curses around it. Viruses and bacteria are Sasori's strongest killer. Even if he wants to clear it himself, it's not that simple. At the same time, she also ordered Shizune to clean up the scattered experimental environment around her, and some very beautiful things will happen afterwards. Sasori doesn't want to face the fragments of these stumps, and just relax Shizune's guard. After so long, the effect of toxins in Shizune's body has been reduced. Experimental assistant. Shizune raised her eyebrows, and she didn't expect that what she asked him to do was to be an experimental assistant. This was a little different from what she had imagined. If she was just an experimental assistant, then Shizune would be relieved. Why, are you looking forward to other plots unfolding? Move faster and clean up before I finish the spell. Seeing Shizune's reaction, Sasori gave her a mocking look. Before Shizune's face cooled down, he said one more sentence and continued to arrange the spell. Shizune calmed down and began to sort out this messy laboratory. As a professional medical ninja, Shizune couldn't accept such a messy laboratory the most. Okay, drink this bottle of potion, and then twow you all. Hear it clearly, both. Just after Shizune gave Sasori's laboratory a new look, he also completed the mantra, and a very strange-looking mantra covered the entire circular altar. Sasori threw a bottle of water-like potion to Shizune, and gave the next order with a weird smile. You. Shizune's face flashed with anger. As expected, it was the same as she thought. How could it be as simple as letting her be an experimental assistant if he did something like that to her before? He really still has a secret. Didn't you say that you are willing to do everything to save Tsunade? You are not willing to do such a small thing. Don't worry, I'm saving Tsunade, just do it. Shizune hesitated, and Xie sneered and mocked, but at the same time he hit Shizune's death again. Shizune took a deep breath at the thought of what she had done and said to herself before. She gritted her teeth and removed her ninja clothes. He has already accepted his fate. As long as he can save Tsunade, even at the expense of himself, Shizune is willing. Sit in the middle of the circle. What only surprised Shizune was that he didn't even shoot at her. Instead, he pointed at the center of the altar, where Tsunade was sitting. Shizune discovered at this time that Tsunade had closed his eyes and sat upright, sitting in the center of the altar. The center of the incantation position was empty. Obviously, this position was reserved for her, and Tsunade was sitting opposite her. I have already said that it is to save Tsunade. Her body is not poison, but a kind of virus and bacteria. Even I can't kill them completely, so you have to transfer them out through you, and then take your body as the medium, let them continue to multiply, the new bacteria will be recycled, and the old bacteria will die. This process may be painful for you, but remember, don't resist anything that can't happen, otherwise Tsunade and you won't live. Sasori once again explained what was going to happen next with a cold face, and exhorted again. Shizune took a deep breath. She knew very well that even Tsunade couldn't deal with the poison. There must be some special way to clean it up. She stopped talking nonsense immediately, went straight over the spell, and sat on the opposite side of Tsunade. What are you doing? Shizune's pupils shrank, and immediately yelled. She might be able to tolerate a shot at her, but once he shot Tsunade, she couldn't accept it. Sasori ignored Shizune's roar, but said calmly, put your hand on Tsunade's heart. Without limbs, how can you let bacteria enter your body? Knowing that Tsunade is Shizune's culprit, Sasori would not be so stupid to touch Tsunade first. The meal needs to be eaten bit by bit, and the plan to fall has to go step by step. Sasori's explanation made Shizune feel better. He took another deep breath and opened his hand to Tsunade's heart according to Sasori's instructions. Some messy thoughts came out of Shizune's mind again. Okay, I'm going to start. Remember that once the curse seal starts to work, you can't move or resist, or you will fail. Even I can't guarantee that I can save Tsunade and you. Just when Shizune was ready, he repeatedly told the precautions again. Shizune looked solemn and nodded silently. Even if the mantra is activated, countless tadpole-like mantras seem to be alive. They gather along Tsunade's skin to the position of the heart, and begin to climb a little bit towards Shizune's hand on Tsunade's heart. Sure enough, Shizune felt dizzy at the moment when the spell began to climb up her arms, and a strong urge to let go rose from the bottom of her heart, but seeing Tsunade's always extremely ugly face, the spell began to move. At the same time, Shizune was able to force himself not to change anything. By the way, it's just that I want to get a sneak peek. Anyway, you will be mine sooner or later. But at this moment, Sasori appeared on the side of the altar, his eyes constantly sweeping around Tsunade and Shizune's body unscrupulously, telling Shizune his real purpose. Shizune was looked at by Sasori's gaze, and a strange feeling suddenly rose from his body, but his words made Shizune's anger soar, and he was actually deceived. Remember, if you can't move, you will fail. Quote. However, Shizune just wanted to get angry, and repeated the previous instructions again with a ridiculous smile. Shizune felt like her body was sealed with a beast, and she kept bumping around her lower abdomen. With every movement of Sasori, the impact was stronger, and a heavy impact continued to invade her nerves. His body was like a well-cooked shrimp, turning red and hot. Wang Jiao, the potion you just drank is my special potion that stimulates human instinct. It is 10,000 times stronger than the junk on the market. It can release the power of human instinct. Please feel it. Remember, can't move. The curvature of Sasori's mouth is not reduced, the effect of the medicine has taken effect, and it immediately turned behind Shizune. Finished. The ritual of the mantra is not long, it only lasts a short 15 minutes or so, but for Shizune, it is like a long life. At the end of the ceremony, Shizune was already lying weakly on the altar. Although the ceremony was over, deep down in her heart, she longed for the ceremony to never stop. She seemed to realize that there was some ambiguity in her question, so she immediately added, "Did you succeed?" "I almost failed. You are struggling with excitement every time. Fortunately, if I keep holding you down, it really fails. You can feel the power in your body. Sasori gave Shizune a playful look, and slapped her Pigu with a slap, causing Shizune's heart to tremble again. Shizune took a deep breath, only to realize that there was a weird curse mark on both Tsunade and her heart. Although there was an extra curse mark, Tsunade looked much better than before, and his face returned to normal. Shizune was relieved a lot, but when she turned her attention to her body, she immediately noticed the abnormality. My chakra. Why did my chakra disappear? Physical strength has also been weakened to this point. Her chakra has disappeared. The body has become no different from normal people. And all the roots are caused by the curse mark of the heart. After in-depth examination of her body, Shizune found that her body contains various important organs. And weirder, all densely covered by the inaudible fine spell, which has penetrated deep into the bone marrow, and there is no possibility of removing it at all. There are also various drug resistances in your body. I can't worry if you don't seal your power. Sasori is obviously in a good mood, and I added another sentence to Shizune. It is not just strength that has been cleared from her body. The super drug resistance brought by the perennial drug experiment has also been completely disintegrated by Sasori. Now Shizune and an ordinary person, there is no difference, and Tsunade's status is exactly the same as Shizune. You lied to me. Shizune suddenly realized that everything he told her before was a lie to her. What to save Tsunade is to allow the curse seal to spread into the body and turn her into an ordinary person. Almost. That's what it means. Sasori smiled brightly at Shizune. This time, he really answered Shizune's question. After so long and doing so much, it was just for the spell to seal the formation just now. This sealing technique is a virus on Tsunade's body. After the cell is the main body, the special seal technique that completely integrates the spell into the human body, and completely transforms Tsunade and Shizune into ordinary people, Sasori can continue the next action with confidence. Tsunade won't wake up for a while. The virus and bacteria have taken root in her body too deeply, and she will be in a coma for a long time. It needs regular treatment every day to stabilize the virus in her body, including you, otherwise it will be very soon. It will be poisoned again. With Tsunade's current state, once the virus breaks out, I can't save it. The smile on Sasori's face remained undiminished. When Shizune discovered the truth and was about to shoot at Sasori, he did not rush to speak again. Sure enough, Shizune forced himself to stop where he was after hearing the threat. Although the current mother wants to subdue Shizune as if it is playing, she still enjoys Shizune's helpless expression when she wants to kill him. Because of the curse imprint just now, all the drugs in your body have been wiped out. This time you don't have any drugs in your body. Your consciousness is the clearest. Okay, then let me see now. In order to save Tsunade, what step can you do? Sasori suddenly opened his hands and described Shizune's state of consciousness, and then beckoned to her. After playing for so long, it was time to start the main show. Shizune stood in place, breathing deeply repeatedly, fighting between heaven and man in his heart, but in the end he showed a fateful expression, walked up to Sasori's face, and began to remove the clothes from Sasori's body. This kind of little trick has no effect on me, not to mention whether you can unlock it after you kill me, and even use forbidden technique ninja art, meiotic regeneration can't save your own Tsunade. If you can't kill me in an instant, then as long as my mind moves, both you and Tsunade will die first. Just when Shizune removed Sasori's trousers, she wrapped Shizune in his arms and pressed her severely on her body. With a disdainful smile, he grabbed Shizune's wrist and raised it in front of him. A fine needle like a hairy needle has popped out of Shizune's nails. Just now, Shizune was about to forcibly kill Sasori and die with Sasori. Because of your dangerous performance, then let you suffer a bit, and let you understand that I am not kidding you. What? Sasori glanced at Shizune coldly, and immediately hooked her fingers, and immediately Shizune let out a scream. An unspeakable pain spread out from the depths of her body, and the moment Sasori acted, all the curses in Shizune's body Yindu began to vibrate, and Shizune's body seemed to be repeatedly crushed by a roller. Even Shizune, who has modified his body and experimented countless times, still can't bear this kind of pain from the depths of the soul. I'm not stupid enough to completely detoxify you. Sasori snorted coldly, and then withdrew his hand. The pain on Shizune's body disappeared. However, it was only the instant eruption of the curse mark that Shizune was covered with cold sweat. Okay, relax and take a deep breath. Remember, I have given you a chance. If you are not obedient, then the pain just now will be imposed on Tsunade. I have no patience. I will give you first. Do a check. Provoking Shizune's chin, the sneer at the corner of his mouth became even worse, and immediately screamed at Tsunade. Needless to say, Shizune knew what he meant, and threatened Tsunade again. Shizune became angry all over. I'm lazy and don't like to force it. Do it yourself, but if I'm not satisfied, you might try another person. When Shizune was relieved, Sasori looked down at her condescendingly and turned his eyes to Tsunade on the altar not far away. Shizune was in a desperate mood. At this moment, when Sasori looked at Tsunade, she came back to life. After her death, her only family member was Tsunade. After being with Tsunade for these years, she knew more about what Tsunade had gone through. I vowed a long time ago that I will not let Tsunade suffer any further harm in any way. Come here first. A little reminder, don't even think about running away. The viruses in you and Tsunade have already penetrated into your bloodlines, and you can't solve them. There are a lot of traps and beasts around you. Going out in your current state is a dead end. Don't talk about taking Tsunade. I'll take care of some things and see you later. Sasori was not in a hurry to thoroughly enjoy Shizune's feast. After a long time, he left Shizune who had been on the ground and was contented to return to Sunagakure. Before leaving, he did not forget to warn Shizune again, even if he opened the agency and left. Secret lab. Sasori just appeared in Sunagakure. Third cage appeared right in front of him, and asked with a gloomy face when he met Fukage. Where did you take her? It seems that there is no need to report my actions to Master Fengying. Sasori shrugged and showed a disdainful smile. Fengying obviously didn't expect to finish speaking with him in this tone and attitude. The wind stopped in an instant, and a murderous Fengying filled his body. Just kidding, I took her to my laboratory. Tsunade is the granddaughter of Konoha first Hokage and a medical ninja. It would be great to use her for experiments. However, when Fengying's murderous aura turned into substance, she suddenly showed a ridiculous smile and answered Fengying's question. I need you to give her to me. She has a special identity and has a more important purpose than doing experiments. Fengying took a deep breath and adjusted his mentality. He didn't talk nonsense with Sasori immediately, and directly expressed his attitude. You hit a boss, and before you started picking up the corpse, your principal appeared in front of you and told you to go. He wanted this boss, would you give it? A weird smile suddenly appeared on the corner of Crocodile's mouth, and then he said something that made Fengying understand and some did not understand. What do you want to say? Although Fengying didn't quite understand what Xie was talking about, the smile at the corner of her mouth made Fengying's face gloomy again, and this smile made him feel uncomfortable inexplicably. Roll. The next moment he smiled, and then said a word softly. Suddenly, Fengying's murderous aura burst out. No one in the entire Wind Kingdom dared to speak to him like this. At the same time, a dozen sand shinobi's Anbu appeared around Xie and surrounded him and Fengying. Get up. As long as Fengying gives an order, an endless battle will erupt. This person is like being used to deal with me. How do you look down on me? Sasori still didn't have the slightest movement, so he glanced at the dozens of sand shinobi Anbu around with a smile and disdain. At this level of strength, the number of people has no much meaning. The skills of the 10 machines are already well known. Yu Shin, the higher level of puppet manipulation, has gradually found inspiration and achieved initial success. If Fengying dares to fight, then Sasori doesn't mind to come up with his own masterpiece. Get down. Just as the battle was about to start, Fengying took a deep breath and waved at the crowd of Anbu. The Anbu who can appear here are all Fengying's diehards. Fengying's command is heaven and earth, and everyone immediately disappeared in the wind and sand. Fengying's gaze stared at Xie, and asked, what are your conditions? There are no conditions. I won't give them to anyone until I get bored. Sasori shook his head. The corner of his mouth smiled even more disdainfully, and he walked past Fengying's side, 267, and gave Fengying his answer. By the way, just Tsunade. While Fengying passed by, Xion suddenly turned his head, showing a ridiculous smile, and strode in the direction of Sunagakure. There was a strong wind around Fengying, and countless dense black iron sands were constantly waving like a ghost. Master Feng Ying. A dark appearance was behind Feng Ying, murderous in his eyes. Feng Ying can bear it, they almost can't help it. Since Mom took the position, he has acted more and more aggressively, and he has never treated Feng Ying. I have respected it, and now I don't even put the wind and shadow in my eyes. A full shot. I have had enough of the puppet clan, and I have had enough of this kid. Feng Ying snarled. If it weren't for the recent trend of the warriors of the major powers, Feng Ying is worried that turning his face with the next patriarch of the puppet clan at this time will cause a considerable degree of internal friction. If he loses, he would have already shot when he was writing about defeating Luo Sha. But now Sasori's attitude finally angered him completely, and he gave him the order of a full-scale attack. Wait, follow the original plan. Just as the Anbu leaders were preparing to execute, Feng Ying took a deep breath and gave up the plan for an all-out war. The current puppet clan is still too powerful, and there are still many important positions in the Kingdom of Wind. Their people. Full action is just an impulse command. He wants to eat away at the puppet clan a little bit. When the puppet clan is weakened to a certain extent, it is when Feng Ying takes action. At that time, he must be tortured to death. As Feng Ying, one of the 5 great ninja nations, he still has this point in the city. Yes, the surrounding Anbu immediately chose to obey Feng Ying's instructions and dispersed. Feng Ying is really calm, so I don't do anything like this, but it's okay, it gives me more time to prepare, it's you guys. Hey, I don't want to hide my identity after showing up in front of me. Quote. He had already walked far, retracted his own line, and showed a sneer. He has done things so terribly, Feng Ying still doesn't make a move, it's really cunning. However, if Feng Ying didn't make a move, it was more convenient for Sasori to take action. The goal of exhaustion was not Feng Ying but Anbu beside Feng Ying. Immediately, Sasori chose one of the lines to follow. Feng Ying's biggest mistake was to keep these loyalties. Anbu is exposed to exhaustion. Sasori happens to have a lot of things to try and use on them. Until late at night, Xie returned to the laboratory where Shizune and Tsunade were being held, but Shizune apparently did not listen to him, and left the laboratory with Tsunade. Sasori easily found in a trap with just a robe. The 2 people who were shivering with the cold took them back to the laboratory, and directly said that they were thrown on the altar. I have already said that if you are not obedient, then you will pay the price, but this time it will not be imposed on you. What? Sasori looked at Shizune with a sneer, and stretched out his hand at the 2 of them, and his fingers slightly hooked. Immediately after Shizune, there was a painful scream. Sasori did not understand the curse mark on Shizune, but activated Tsunade. The curse mark on the body. Stop. It's all my fault. Please stop. Shizune's pupils shrank and she was at a loss for what to do. Seeing Tsunade's painful look, she suddenly regretted everything she had done, and tears couldn't stop running down Shizune's face. It depends on your performance. If you can't satisfy me, I won't move you, but I will arouse the curse mark on Tsunade. Withdrawing his hand exhaustedly, looking at Shizune with a wicked smile, let a person full of hatred towards you become obedient to you, and even take the initiative to make you happy. This is a very fun thing. Sasori, Grandma Chio is looking for you, in the meeting room. When Sasori returned to the station of the puppet clan at the next day, Yi Kang suddenly found him. Okay, got it. Sasori lightly nodded, and walked to the location of the meeting room. Mom. When Sasori turned and left, Yi Kang stopped him. Sasori turned his face blankly, just looking at Yi Kang like this, as if he was a stranger, and immediately made Yi Kang's heart chuck, and everything he wanted to say was blocked. In the throat. Yi Kang and her mother have confirmed their marriage contract, and they have also obtained Yi Kang's body. Sasori's efforts and talents have been proven to her in various ways. Let Yi Kang feel satisfied, what else can he ask for to have such a partner in troubled times? But I don't know since when Sasori gradually stopped looking for her, and even his attitude began to become cold, even if he became a lady who didn't need money. This made Yi Kang feel a kind of faint loss, even worry. He seemed a bit unable to catch the next patriarch of this puppet clan. I heard that you caught Konoha's Tsunade and Shizune and imprisoned them, isn't it true? When Sasori frowned, Yi Kang looked for a topic in a panic. Before she came, she had heard from Chio about Chio looking for him. Not only Chio, but the entire puppet clan was waiting for exhaustion. But well, is there anything else? It's okay. I'm leaving. Sasori obviously didn't intend to waste too much time here with Yi Kang, nodded, and then asked impatiently. Wait and go again. We haven't had that for a long time. Go, I have a new trick. As soon as Yi Kang gritted his teeth, he immediately stretched out, and said something extremely difficult for Yi Kang to say. Next time, I'll go find Grandma first. It's just that Yi Kang pulled, but didn't let Sasori move. Sasori took Yi Kang's hand away indifferently, staggered with her, and walked to the meeting room. Yi Kang was left with a look of sorrow and loss. After a long time, Yi Kang regained his unwilling look, and said firmly against Sasori's back, I will not give up easily. I have never lost. This is the number of casualties in one day yesterday. Feng Ying started to act. According to the news from our people in Anbu, it was because his mother refused Feng Ying's request to hand over Tsunade and angered him. In the family meeting room of the Puppet Clan, the 7 real core elders of the Puppet Clan sat in a circle, and they had already had a seat here half a year ago. On the list is a list of casualties of the Puppet Clan in one day. You mean to blame me for falling? In the family meeting room of the Puppet Clan, 7 real core elders of the Puppet Clan sat in a circle, and Sasori already had a seat here half a year ago. After Sasori took his seat, a list of elders was left on the table. In the very center above is the list of casualties of the Puppet family from yesterday to the present day. The names and photos of 6 people have been marked with red crosses, and the remaining 7 have been marked with some kind of severe damage. Those who can appear on this list are not peripheral personnel. Everyone is a Jonin of the Puppet Clan. In other words, since Sasori refused to Feng Ying, the 13 Puppet Clan died or lost the battle. Mom didn't even look at the list, and sneered at everyone. You mean to blame me? Yes, you should take full responsibility for this accident. What we mean is to let you hand over Tsunade. As the next patriarch, you should start from the overall situation. If Sasori's sneer immediately made the elder Yun who spoke before suddenly dissatisfied. Although he is the most outstanding genius of the Puppet family in these years, and is also the next patriarch, his current identity is only tentative, and his attitude is obviously they didn't pay attention to the elders of their Puppet Clan. Therefore, Elder Yun did not pass the resolution at all. He directly stated the opinions of everyone, and decided to warn that his position was given by the family, and it is easy for the family to take it back. When people are old, they are confused. Is Feng Ying's idea of moving the Puppet Clan only recently? It's just that before Elder Cheng had finished speaking, he interrupted him with a sneer. Before Elder Yun was about to slap the table and get angry, he slapped the table one step at a time, and roared at everyone. This time I have compromised and passed the immediate difficulties, so when will the next time come? Tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. At that time, a few people will die, and then we will continue to compromise, die a few people, compromise, die a few people, compromise. Our Puppet Clan has fallen into a cycle of death. Think about the power of the Puppet Clan when you were young, and think about it now. In these years, our people have died on the battlefield, or because of intelligence errors and mission exposure. Too much. The Puppet Clan will be destroyed and defeated, but it is not because of a strong attack by a foreign enemy, but because of your repeated compromises. Sasori's words silenced the entire conference room. There are no fools in the room. They are all aware of Feng Ying's encroachment plan. They do not understand, but pretend that they do not understand. This is the list of casualties of the Puppet Clan after I joined the family. Look, how many of them were actually killed on the battlefield. Each of them died in Feng Ying's conspiracy. Just when everyone was silent, a list was also thrown out, but this list of Sasori is longer and more detailed. Behind his name is a list of when to die, what cause of death, the truth about the cause of death, and a series of other comments. The only thing these people have in common is that they are all instructions from the wind. Everyone's eyes jumped up. Sasori's list was definitely not collected one by one, but the people around Feng Ying leaked detailed information. Otherwise, it is impossible to even implement what kind of specifics. The conspiracy is written. It turns out that Sasori, who seems to be immersed in battle and human experiment every day, is more terrifying than they thought. Then what do you mean? Elder Yun's gaze was slightly different, then he looked at Sasori with a sneer. Everyone in Feng Ying's EBA plan is very clear, but Feng Ying is obviously just posing. Even if you know what the posture can be, they have not been able to find a solution for so many years. Can it be all right? Today's meeting will be here first, and I will come to you tomorrow to give you an explanation. Sasori glanced at him indifferently, and then whispered a few words in Chio's ear, then turned and left the meeting room, leaving everyone with a blank face, but Chio nodded at the crowd with a solemn face. Obviously some actions have been approved. After Sasori left the puppet clan, he didn't make any movement, but went straight back to the laboratory, avoiding all the eyeliners. This time, Shizune did not make any more escapes or other movements, but curled up in the shadows on the edge of the altar with his knees, his eyes a little confused. What happened last night was too crazy, and what made him even more unacceptable was that in the end, she became extremely cooperative, and even her body instinctively asked for it. As Sasori said before, she really felt the feeling of being a woman. Happiness, this is something she has never felt or thought of. As soon as Mom saw Shizune's appearance, she immediately pulled her up, in her exclamation, "River crab." Shizune already knew exactly what Sasori wanted. She didn't need to drink long and started to cooperate with Shenyan. Anyway, the final outcome is the same. It's better to let yourself learn to enjoy. This is the idea that she instilled. It's just that Shizune's cooperation has suddenly reduced Sasori's interest by more than half. Ha ha ha, sure enough, it still has the original flavor. He suddenly laughed wildly, and the long-lost feeling suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart, even the movements became more violent. Suddenly raised his brows, he noticed that Tsunade's eyelashes on the altar flickered at the moment, but Shizune was immersed in the happiness brought to her by the exhausted clone, but Shizune didn't notice it. He sneered, and Tsunade was obviously awake. Come on, continue in front of Tsunade. Sasori immediately realized what had happened, and it was almost time to count, but Shizune still didn't realize this. I don't like to force others. If you don't do it naturally, there are others. It's just that he has begun to use his abilities, and several silk threads have risen from all around and hung Shizune in the air. There is no room for her to struggle, but she still leaves Shizune as Shizune said, and exposed to Tsunade smiled. Stop, I'm coming. Shizune's dead spot was touched by Sasori again, and immediately she exclaimed. Then how should you beg me? Tip, pay attention to your expression. Sasori pinched her chin, the smile on the corner of her mouth was extremely mocking. Severe river crab. Tell, you have a little secret, your Tsunade is actually awake, ha ha ha. The screw walked to Shizune without stopping. The next day Sasori appeared in the meeting room of the Dianzu clan on time, and everyone was already in place. He continued from yesterday's topic and continued. I know that Grandma is nostalgic for the past, and you are nostalgic for the past. You have been patient and compromised because of the ancestors of the Shaw family. Everything we do, so as long as Grandma is still the owner of the family, this policy will not change, and I am not qualified to sit in this EBA position and change this policy. Are you willing to hand over Tsunade? Sasori made no secret of spying on the position of patriarch, but he did not say a substantive solution. Elder Yun suddenly sneered at the drink. No, I don't know how to hand in people. I mean it's time to sound the alarm for the Shaw family. Our puppet clan is not afraid of you, but drinking water and thinking about the source, not forgetting your roots. If you continue to be so excessive, then don't blame us for being polite. Sasori shook his head, and it was almost impossible for him to hand over Tsunade. Even 1/3 of the Tiaojiao for Tsunade and Shizune were not reached, how could it be possible to give up? Ring the alarm bell. When Sasori told everyone his real way, everyone was shocked and didn't understand what Sasori meant. Some people would rather be dogs than humans. The puppet clan has a family's internal support. They have already negotiated and exchanged the puppet clan's loyalty for the position of the head of the house. When the alarm is sounded, we must tell the Sand family not to think of us as fools, and by the way clean up the rubbish in the lower clan. Elder Yun, do you know why I waited all night to announce this content? Sasori sneered suddenly and turned his gaze to Elder Yun, who had always been radical. What do you want to say? Elder Yun's face became cold, and he stared at Sasori fiercely, as if he would take action as long as he couldn't give a satisfactory answer. My mouth is unprovoked. I know that even if I tell you that you are the spy that Feng Ying has planted in the puppet clan, no one will believe it. The relationship has lost a hand, and he is the representative of the radical in the family. How can such a person be a spy? Right. Sasori's demeanor was relaxed, expounding the special identity and status of Elder Yun in a mocking way. Elder Yun was just about to laugh at Sasori, but Sasori raised a finger, stopped his words, and continued, "That's why I took out yesterday's list to make you mistakenly think it came from the people around Feng. Intelligence, but you didn't guess wrong. This information is indeed flowed by people around Feng. You are afraid of exposing yourself, so you will definitely contact Feng overnight to discuss countermeasures. I will let my grandma and everyone last night. I watched a good drama, I don't count it, the elders said it's forgotten." As Sasori's voice fell, everyone staring at Elder Yun was full of contempt and anger. Just like Mom said, they did see the secret meeting between Feng and Elder Yun last night under the exhaustive arrangement. Even what they said was clear, Mom had already prepared everything for them. The reason Sasori came up with that list was just to force Elder Yun to show his feet. "How could you follow me?" The changes in the expressions of the people made Elder Yun understand that he was indeed exposed, and his face changed immediately. The meeting between him and Feng can be said to be a secret in the secret. Only he and Feng know about the entire Kingdom of Wind, and he used a lot last night. It is absolutely impossible for anyone to track Feng, who is going to see him in an anti-tracking way. "Who wants to follow you? We squatted directly at the place where you met. We all said that there are people around Feng. To be precise, Feng is already all my people." Sasori flattened his mouth in disdain. Although he has the ability to track Elder Yun, he disdains to use it, because he witnesses the dark side of Elder Yun with everyone, and is more willing to do more pleasant things with Shizune and Tsunade. Last night, Chio and the other elders were brought to witness the Anbu members around Feng. Although Feng did not tell these Anbus the secret between him and Elder Yun, these Anbus have been with Feng for so many years, and they are not fools. I had guessed who it was based on the clues, and how the two met with the place, and made a concealed disguise at the place where the two met early, so that Elder Feng and Yun brought it to the door by themselves. Feng is stupid and stupid. There was a chance to kill you before you grew up, but he didn't make a move. Elder Yun's face turned white and red, and he cursed Feng secretly. He didn't expect that even he underestimated Sasori. Since joining the family, Sasori has always shown only his talent in puppetry. I can't think of his strategy. They are all great, even the people close to Feng are used by him. How long did Sasori join, and if he is given a few more years to develop, the whole family of electric injuries will probably turn over and become the master. How do you know that he had a chance? Sasori looked at Elder Yun with disdain, showing a mocking smile. Do you want to kill me? Kill the chicken and scream the monkey. Knock the mountain and shake the tiger. You dream. Elder Yun was unwilling to look at the people around him who were already ready to move, let out a roar, and immediately sent a special signal flare. The flare quickly smashed the roof and rose to the sky. Even in the sandy environment, it was still clear. Seeing a special light lit up. I have been in the Puppet Clan for so many years, and I have worked so hard for the Puppet Clan to lay a family business for the Puppet Clan. Watching the signal flare lift off smoothly, Elder Yun suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. His expression turned a bit hideous, and he stared at Chiandai with bitterness. Sasori digs out his ears a little boringly. Elder Yun's bridge section is too old-fashioned. Every traitor within the clan is basically rebellious because of dissatisfaction, and few succeed. The teacher did choose you originally, but you are narrow-minded and extreme. The teacher thinks that the Puppet Clan will be destroyed in your hands, so you finally gave up on you. Now it seems that the teacher is right. Just when Sasori was about to make a direct shot, Chio stood up from her position, and the 10 people of Jin Song were directly released. The elder is the same door, so she should understand the next battle. You all go to die. I have worked so hard for so long. Do you think I am not prepared for anything? Although Chiandai released a group of 10 people from the Song dynasty, Elder Yun was not afraid of it. There were already many voices around the conference room. There are still a lot of confidants he has cultivated under his hands. When he worked with Feng, he expected that there would be such a day. Now is the time for these people to go out. Do you know why no one stopped when you fired the flare just now? Elder Yun's pride didn't last long. Sasori's sneer and relaxed expression immediately made him click in his heart. Suddenly Xie opened his arms, his hands turned into countless silk threads and spread out, and what was in front of everyone was not Sasori's body. Squirting, a total of 36 people, 19 Jonin, as my reward for picking you out, these people will belong to me. It happens that my experiment lacks a lot of elites of the Puppet clan. If it weren't for your help, I really don't know if I should secretly attack my people. The next moment there were continuous screams from outside the meeting room. The screams did not last for too long, and then calmed down. Sasori's arms returned to their original form again, and he looked at Elder Yun with a ridiculous smile. The expressions of Elder Yun and the other elders instantly turned extremely ugly. The reason why Elder Yun became so ugly was because the data reported by Sasori happened to be his trump card. The elders did not expect that Elder Yun would unknowingly win over so many people, let alone kill so many people in such a short period of time. These 36 people have obviously been taken care of by Sasori. Everyone knows that after Sasori's shot, there are very few livelihoods, and those who are alive might as well die on the spot. By the way, I just received the news from Flying Eagle. The people that Feng Ying sent to meet you, a total of 12 Anbu who are usually inconspicuous, have also been killed by our people, and there are 12 more excellent experiments. The materials, thank you so much. Just when Elder Yun's face was constantly changing and he was about to find a way to delay time, Sasori spoke again. Elder Yun's face changed drastically. In addition to summoning his confidant to launch an attack, the signal flare sent earlier is also a signal to inform Feng Ying that the Puppet clan has undergone major changes and can initiate a full-scale attack. But the people who didn't expect Feng Ying were also killed, and how could there be only 12 Anbu? This should be a signal for a full-scale attack. Do you want to ask why there are only 12 Anbus? What about Feng Ying and the others? Feng Ying just received the latest battle report this morning. The land of the country and the Uzbek army have been crushed. It should be almost here by now. The border is now. When he comes back, everything is over. Elder Yun just raised this doubt and smiled again. Just last night, Anbu, who was close to Feng Ying's 267 Shadows, brought a scroll of information about Feng Ying's sneak attack on the land of the earth and handed it to Wang Ying. He also brought an action plan with him. Feng Ying'an was on the spy list of the land and the land of the river. Before Tsuchikage was interrogated, this Anbu was poisoned and killed. After Tsuchikage secretly arrested the spies on the list and confirmed their true identities, they immediately mobilized the ninja army and the ninja army from the ninja country to gather at the border to prepare for a surprise attack by Kazekage. At the same time as the ninja army of the land of the earth and the kingdom of birds gathered, Feng Ying also received the news that the spies he had set up in the land of the earth returned the news that the combined forces of the land of the earth and the land of birds were preparing to attack the country of the wind. Under the crisis, Feng Ying rushed to the battlefield in person. Feng Ying had already crossed the river and couldn't protect himself, not to mention going to Elder Guan Yun. It would save him face if he could leave 12 secrets to Elder Yun. I will hand over your body to Master Feng Ying for treason after you die, believing that Feng Ying will make a sensible decision. Feng Ying and Tsuchikage had intelligence errors. When the two met, even if a full-scale war did not break out, local battles would definitely break out. The dead were for sure, and Sasori also specially prepared some small gifts for him. I imagined that he would like it. When he came back from the border and saw Elder Yun's body, he would definitely do the stupid thing of attacking the Puppet clan in an all-round way. Facing Elder Yun's face that was darker than tan, Mom's face showed a smile from the heart. Every time I saw the enemy who thought they could come back, but was defeated step by myself, Mom felt very much. Fun is like turning Shizune step by step into your own toilet, and then it is Tsunade's turn to get Tsunade, then Sasori's plan can officially begin, and the puppet technique must be perfected as soon as possible. In this way, no matter whether it is your confidant or foreign aid, do you have any other cards? Hurry up, don't waste time, I have more important things to do. When he thought that there was still a big meal waiting for him in his laboratory, Sasori felt a little expectant in his heart, and waved his hand at Elder Yun, a little impatient. Go to hell, I am the biggest whole card. Let you see mine. Sasori's expressions and actions finally angered Elder Yun completely. Immediately, he roared and slapped his right arm. A scroll popped out of his right arm, and 10 puppets in a row guarded Elder Yun strictly in the middle. One of the most important reasons why Elder Yun was able to sit in his position today was his own combat power. Dropping ruffian string, spider's web, over the whip line. I always feel that the name of this move is a translation error. It's just that he didn't finish his cruel words. Chiyo was ready to make a move, but he moved faster than Chiandi, and he stretched his right hand to the sky, yanked it down, and the 5 silk threads directly pierced Elder Yun, nailed in place. With a wave of his left hand, the huge spider web said that the 10 puppets, including Elder Feng, were all wrapped in. These spider webs are made of Sasori's silk thread, and the strength is amazing, although these puppets are constantly struggling under the control of Elder Yun, but still unable to break free. A reverse pull with his right hand immediately opened the heart and aimed at Elder Yun. The spinning made of countless silk threads surpassed the whip line and immediately passed through the gap between the puppets, piercing the heart of Elder Yun. 0. This Sasori is an excellent puppet of the puppet clan after all. It's a shame to destroy it, so let's leave it to others. Almost at the moment when Elder Yun took the shot, Elder Yun's spike was completed, and all the silk threads were recovered. When his 10 puppets were handed over to Master Sunset, one of the elders, for the puppet clan, excellent puppets are also important. One of the strategic materials. Next, I'll be fine. If I'm fine, I'll leave first. I have work to do. There was a burning Sasori in his heart, and he waved at the elder who looked at him with a strange expression, and left the meeting room immediately. He was released. The desert lizard swallowed all the 36 ninjas of the puppet clan who had fallen into a coma. He quickly left Sunagaku's territory. After leaving Sunagaku, he naturally returned to his laboratory. When he returned to the laboratory, Tsunade had fallen into a coma again, and the toxins in her body had already affected her to a certain extent. Shizune was the only one. He didn't wear it either, wearing a collar around his neck, kneeling like a corpse at the entrance of the laboratory, waiting for Sasori's return. This is what Sasori asked Shizune to do when he left, and Shizune did it exactly. You know what to do. With an excited smile, Sasori hooked Shizune. Shizune raised his head hollowly, crawling up to Sasori on all fours like a dog. How did Mom instigate Anbu next to Fengiying? After Sasori left, the meeting room fell into a long silence. From yesterday's meeting to the present, everyone who should have led the meeting turned out to be completely spectators. Although Sasori killed the prestigious Elder Yun of the puppet clan in a second, the displayed strength surprised them, but it did not scare them. Only powerful people cannot rule the world, but a powerful, ruthless, scheming city. Extremely deep, even the people around Ying who can arrange spies make them feel terrified from the bottom of their hearts. It is common for the world of ninjas to arrange spies for each other, not to mention the leader of a country like Fengiying, but since Fengiying's upper ranks, no one has ever been able to arrange spies by his side. However, the one who took Chiyo and everyone to meet Fengiying and Elder Yun last night was an Anbu next to Fengiying. It is a miracle that Sasori has completed the task that no one can complete in such a short time after joining the puppet clan. It's not just this Anbu, the Anbu who went to the land of the country to throw himself into the net, and died, is also obviously Sasori's spy, a master who can make the spy give up his life. What kind of charm is there? It is not instigating rebellion, but control. Fengiying is calm and guarded. Anyone with the slightest problem will not use it. His Anbu is even more unlikely to rebel, so there is only one possibility. They are controlled by Sasori. Human trials have been carried out during these hours. Just when everyone fell silent, Chiyo suddenly raised his eyes and made a judgment immediately. How is this possible? All the elders immediately felt that this was a joke, but no one laughed out loud, because this seemed to be the only explanation, and this was also the place where everyone felt scared. Sasori Master has a certain way to control people's thoughts. If this is true, then no one knows whether he will be the next person to be controlled. When Tsunade woke up again, he found 2 figures standing not far away. Although Sasori and Shizune were not wearing clothes, the picture was not as unbearable as she had imagined. The 2 stood in front of the experiment platform and were dissecting one another. A corpse. If you wake up, come and help us see this experiment. Tsunade was just about to continue to observe what Xie wanted to do, but suddenly turned around and beckoned to Tsunade. Shizune, who was standing next to him, didn't turn his head back, but stood still and trembled slightly. Seeing Shizune's appearance, Tsunade's mind immediately remembered the Shizune before, and anger continued to rise from Tsunade's heart. Looking at Tsunade, who was staring at him, Sasori said impatiently, "Don't waste time, you can leave when the experiment is successful." Immortal ninjutsu. Tsunade took a deep breath and sneered at the prostitution's statement. If it was really that simple to let them go, she wouldn't do so many things, but she still walked silently between Sasori and Shizune, even if it was a sneak attack, have to wait until it gets closer. But when Tsunade approached, he immediately exclaimed. Whether it was the corpse in her hand or the scroll set aside, she quickly made her judge what kind of ninjutsu it was. As a medical ninja, and developed forbidden techniques such as Baihao technique and ninja art, meiotic regeneration, Tsunade has not conducted human experiments. In fact, she is also full of desire for being immortal. Perhaps no woman does not like to own it. Young and beautiful. I got it from the land of the earth, but it's only a semi-finished product. It only allows the corpse to retain the ability of the corpse. No matter how I try, the success rate is very low. I have a good goal, but I am afraid that it will fail. So I want you to help me improve this technique. As long as you help me, I will give you freedom. Xie didn't intend to conceal the meaning. I got the forbidden scroll from Luo Sha, and I don't know if it was caused by them, or Rock Shinobi originally researched such a thing. Sasori tried it many times. This forbidden technique, the success rate is only 1/5. Heian was lucky to succeed at the first time, and the newly obtained Anbu corpse in front of him has failed, and once it fails, this corpse will be completely useless. Although Sasori has locked his goal, he doesn't want to waste precious materials like this. Sooner or later, Tsunade and Shizune are both their own people. Shizune has already fallen. If you adjust it for a while, you can proceed with the next step. Tsunade can also start. The wine that is eaten last, and brewed first, will taste more delicious. I don't believe you. It's just that Tsunade obviously didn't intend to cooperate with Sasori. Instead, he sneered. After witnessing what Sasori did to Shizune, Tsunade would believe that there was a ghost. You don't have the right to choose, now I have the initiative. Sasori didn't intend to refute Tsunade, just sneered and shrugged, and then continued. Although those people outside have always resisted human experiments, the right or wrong of this view is for the time being, but at least they are right. Wang Jiao, everyone who voluntarily conducts human experiments is Biantai. If you don't take action, then I'm going to use some methods you will never want to see, trust me. Quote. Sasori's smile became gloomy, and Tsunade suddenly felt a horrible feeling. When thinking of the things that he did before, Tsunade subconsciously believed that he would do something terrible when his mother said that, but he refused to admit defeat. Tsunade's personality made Tsunade snorted and turned around. The eye-catching silver needle has disappeared from the test bed. Tsunade, mention your opinion. Tsunade had just walked the silver needle down, and he suddenly called her out, and Tsunade's heart was beaten in an instant. Fortunately, Sasori stopped her, not because his actions were exposed. Sasori doesn't care about Tsunade's attitude. What he wants is Tsunade's suggestions on human testing. Sasori has never been a person behind closed doors. He can learn from past memories, conspiracy and ghosts and animals. He can also follow the plots of those Lifens. Development, but human trials are Sasori's slowest progress in all aspects. I believe that with Tsunade's help, this forbidden technique will be perfected soon. I reject. Tsunade chose to reject Sasori's proposal without hesitation. She would never help complete such a forbidden technique. Then do you want to watch the only niece of your former lover die, 23, and then become my experimental material, or do you help me? Sasori shrugged and smiled. He didn't expect Tsunade to help him so obediently, so he immediately hooked his finger, and Shizune's face became pale and fell to the ground, although she was in pain all over, but he gritted his teeth hard, and even grudgingly showed Tsunade a smile that was uglier than crying, and wanted Tsunade not to worry about her. Stop, you fool, Tsunade yelled at Mom immediately. Look at you, her destiny is in your hands. Sasori flattened his mouth and spread his hands. He will not stop until Tsunade compromises. The key to this surgery is the head and heart. The failure is due to loss of activity. As long as these two steps are optimized, the success rate can be increased. Stop. Tsunade yelled at Sasori immediately. With Tsunade's professional vision, it is obvious at a glance that the main reason why Sasori's surgery fails is that the vital organs of the body were not treated specially during the surgery. This surgery can preserve the chakra and blood limit. If the organ activity disappears, then there is nothing to keep at all. Tsunade hugged Shizune, quickly told her what she knew, and immediately yelled again. Remember, Next time I cooperate a little bit, I don't like to persecute others. Don't worry, when I succeed, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. I can guarantee this. Of course, if you are willing to stay and follow I study it together is the best. Sasori smiled and retracted her hand. Shizune immediately let go, cold sweat was already covering her body. With a weird smile, Shion turned around and took out an Anbu's body again and started repeating the experiment, and assured Tsunade in a good mood. Tsunade snorted coldly, just a glance full of contempt and disdain. The arc of Sasori's mouth remained the same, and he whispered in a voice that only he could hear, I am afraid that even if I drive you away, you will not want to leave me. Sasori's actions never stopped, and the operation soon reached the most critical step. This step was successful, and the operation was basically successful, so he must devote himself to the experiment. At this time, Tsunade, who had been holding Shizune, finally moved. With a flick of her finger, the silver needle appeared on her index finger. With the smallest movement, Tsunade pierced the silver needle straight without breaking the air. As long as the spine is pierced in this position, even Sasori will be paralyzed. Tsunade has waited for so long, waiting for such an opportunity, she never put her hope on the mercy of the enemy. The thin silver needle pierced Sasori's spine in an instant, but Tsunade did not show any joy. Based on her experience, she immediately understood that what she was in front of her was not Sasori's real body. Next time you want to attack me, remember to wait a while and give you a little punishment. What? Sasori, who was pierced through his spine, suddenly twisted his head and hooked his fingers. Suddenly Tsunade let out a miserable howl, and pushed to the ground like Shizune, shaking like he was shocked, and quickly turned over. Bayan fainted. Stop. Don't torture Master Tsunade anymore. Let me come. Let me come. Shizune crawled over suddenly, hugged Sasori, pleading. But I'm tired of yours, what should I do? Being hugged by Shizune, Sasori turned into a silk thread and disappeared, while the real Sasori appeared beside Tsunade who had passed out. His fingers lightly swiped on Tsunade's body, looking at Shizune jokingly. What do you want to do? You promised me. You can't do anything against Tsunade-sama. Shizune was really panicked this time, she was afraid to shoot Tsunade, she even pinned her hopes on Sasori's promise. Sasori stepped over Tsunade's body, walked in front of Shizune, raised his chin, and said with a smirk, it still depends on your performance. As long as you keep me fresh until the experiment is completed, I will naturally not go. Move Tsunade, but your deadly expression really makes me uninterested. Chapter 71. Unexpectedly, Elder Yun turned out to be a spy for the Kingdom of Fire. Because of Elder Yun's actions, the Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Wind were almost completely fought. Fortunately, Tsuchikage and Fengying awakened in time, which did not allow them to take advantage of it. Entering from the emptiness, the country of fire is really sinister, and even wants to take advantage of the fishermen. When Sasori returned to Sunagakur, everyone was discussing the major events that happened in the past 2 days. Elder Yun's body had been hung at the gate of Sunagakur, and a notice was posted to inform the world about his deeds. According to the official information given by the Kingdom of Wind, Elder Yun was a spy arranged by Konoha in the Kingdom of Wind. This time the war between the Kingdom of the Earth and the Kingdom of Wind was deliberately provoked by him, in order to cause the two countries to internalize each other. Then Konoha took advantage of the void and swallowed the two great nations. After taking a look at the notice, he sneered. The story compiled by Fengying is really good. It perfectly covers the reason for his defeat in this war. He also blacked Konoha and put all the black pots on the back of the cloud. On the bodies of the elders and Konoha, Konoha was really shot while lying down. Look, it's Sasori of the Red Sand. I heard that he was the one who destroyed the Fire Country this time. As expected of the genius of the Puppet Clan. People are the next patriarch. Sasori's distinctive styling and hair with a special hair color were immediately recognized by Sand Shinobi around him. An exclamation and praise immediately flooded like a tide. In Fengying's notice, it was the person who undermined the Elder Yun's plan. Putting away the sneer on his face, Sasori passed through the crowd with no expression on his face. Everyone subconsciously retreated to the sides and gave way to Sasori. Although the war failed this time, a violent local conflict broke out. Fengying is furious. The Shaw family suffered heavy losses in this operation. The Shaw family's elite troops were attacked by the land of the earth. The casualties were heavy. Sasori went straight into the territory of the Puppet Clan. Chiyo had already been waiting for him, and handed Sasori the list of casualties of the Kingdom of Wind and Land. Unlike ordinary people outside, what Chiyo has obtained is the real intelligence. The battle between the country of wind and the country on the border is actually the country of wind lost, but the two countries did not really fight, and the two sides of the war, realizing that there is something wrong, both sides actually made a defensive battle at the same time. This is like a sneak attack, which is basically a passive defense. But if you don't fight, you can't make it. The younger brothers are all called together. You pat your butt and go back. Where is the face of the shadow, and what will the younger brother think? So in the end, several small battles broke out between the two countries. However, due to the leakage of information, most of them ended up with Feng Ying's loss, and even because of the small gifts prepared by Sasori, the elite troops of the Sand family were raided, and this is what really makes Feng Ying feel distressed. Several pieces of meat were severely cut off, another hand was cut off, and the person who wielded the butcher knife was to be rewarded. Master Feng Ying must have a wonderful face right now. Glancing at the casualty list, he immediately laughed. This time Feng Ying not only lost the pawns of the Puppet Clan, but also his elite also suffered a heavy loss. Not only that, he could only smash his teeth and swallow it in his stomach, and issued a public reward to this swordsman. This is undoubtedly. Feng Ying slapped herself several times. Feng Ying won't let it go. What are you going to do? Chiyo looked faintly at Sasori, who was not nervous, but snickered, and gave a warning. Since Sasori has done so much, then obviously he should also have a plan to deal with it. Do you really want to know? Sasori and Chiyo looked straight, and didn't want to pierce the last piece of paper between the two. I am going to remove the next 3. After Chiyo's firm eyes and affirmative nod, he directly told Chiyo of his thoughts. If you want to completely change the relationship between the Puppet family and the Shaw family, it is impossible for Chiyo to be the head of the Puppet family, so you must sit in this position yourself. The Puppet family of the age of Chiyo may have been blessed by the Sand family, but they did not. It's a bit early, and it's not the most suitable time yet, and you're still a bit short. The world can never defeat a country by relying on one person. Chiyo does not have any unusual performance, and the times have been changing. When she chose it at the beginning, it was because she was fancy that might bring new hope to the Puppet Clan. Although she knew that Sasori would go this way for a long time, Chiyo shook her head. In her opinion, Sasori wanted to do this a bit early, and Sasori's wings had not yet formed. It's not the right time now, and I'm a little bit behind me. I agree, but if you want to destroy a country, sometimes one person is enough. I'm not trying to convince you, I just came to you to get something. Sasori smiled and also nodded at Chiyo, then shook his head. Sasori was not here to replace Chiyo this time, he was only here to make some preliminary preparations, and these preparations will soon be used. What do you want? The list of all the spies scattered outside by the Puppet Clan, the complete list is only you have the entire Puppet Clan. Chiyo raised her brows slightly, and apart from the position of the Puppet Clan, she really couldn't guess what else the Puppet Clan had useful to Sasori. Sasori's gaze was frantic, and a bright smile was shown at Chiyo. As Sasori said, the latest intelligence of all the spies of the entire Puppet Clan is only available to Chiyo. Chiyo fell silent immediately, and it was a long time before she released the 10 people near song, took out a scroll from one of the puppets, and handed them out. Chiyo had already guessed what Sasori wanted this list for. Really, as she guessed, Sasori Master can change the forbidden technique of people's will, then this list will become Mom's killer bronze. After getting the list, Xie immediately nodded respectfully at Chiyo and turned and left. Sasori's plan was about to be officially implemented. Perhaps I should have listened to you in the first place. When Sasori left, the darkness swallowed Chiyo, and Chiyo sighed suddenly. It's not too late now. Ebizo walked out from behind her, looked at Sasori's leaving back, and shrugged. It's too late. It looks like a poisonous spider hovering in the air. When the enemy began to approach him, he realized that he had already fallen into the invisible net arranged by Sasori. In fact, it was not other people who were hunting, but Sasori. He used himself as a bait to hunt. Chiyo shook it. About this, she already understood that although she seldom cares about the affairs of the clan, and never cares about the entire ninja world, Isshin is only improving her own strength, but all this is an illusion. When people misunderstood him, he had already started to disperse his own net, and everyone who underestimated Sasori would end up being swallowed by Sasori. In the next few days, I would go out every day. No one knew what they were doing. Sometimes they were alone, and sometimes they were acting with Hidan. Of course, he will return to his laboratory from time to time. Tsunade, who has regained consciousness, is not honest for a day. Every time he returns to the laboratory, Shizune will basically be punished. Shizune will not say anything from the beginning to the end. All the punishments were blocked, and as the number of times increased, Sasori understood that the time was ripe and it was time to attack Tsunade. Did you too move the curse imprint? I forgot to tell you. This curse imprint is made up of viruses and bacteria. Any stimulus will activate them and erode your body. Shizune must have no such courage, so it is. You fall. When Sasori returned to the laboratory again, he found Shizune and Tsunade both lying on the ground, and countless curse imprints appeared on their bodies. Sasori snorted coldly, and helped them suppress the curse marks on their bodies. He glanced at Tsunade and Shizune, and immediately raised his hands, ready to let Tsunade understand what life is better than death. No, let me come, let me come. But just as Sasori raised his hand, Shizune hugged his hand and stared at him with a panic expression. Okay. Sasori agreed to Shizune without hesitation, and activated the curse mark on Shizune. What? The next moment Shizune let out an extremely painful howl, and her whole body shrank to the ground, shaking frantically, her hands clinging to her arms, even her nails penetrated into the flesh and blood. Stop. Are you still not a human being? You treat her like that every day, and now you can still kill her. Seeing Shizune's appearance, Tsunade immediately yelled at Sasori. What exactly did Shizune do to Shizune every time I came back? It was clear in the palm of his hand, but Tsunade didn't want to say it through. Perhaps doing this would make Shizune's psychology better. Am I a human? Someone must pay for their stupid behavior, either you or her. I treat her like that every day. You should have to bear all the pain, but she chose to bear it for you voluntarily. I have already said that. I don't like to force others, I like to volunteer. Do you know how many times Shizune has voluntarily taken on you because of your stupid behavior? Crocodile's mouth showed a mocking smile. Unexpectedly, Tsunade would start to question him, and immediately began to disclose why Shizune became what it is now. When Tsunade was said that, she became dumb. Speaking carefully, since she woke up, Tsunade would always escape with her mother or launch a fatal sneak attack on Sasori during the experiment. However, Tsunade has never suffered that kind of pain except for being punished by the curse seal at the beginning. Shizune took everything every time. You have become accustomed to having Shizune behind your knife every time. You are very fortunate to have accepted this disciple. It was she who allowed you to challenge my patience again and again, and it was you who made her stupid for you time and time again. You pay a heavy price for your behavior. You even subconsciously think that, anyway, Shizune will help you block, you can do it arbitrarily. Seeing Tsunade stunned, the sneer at the corner of his mouth suddenly expanded, and he continued to say to Tsunade, and the exhausted voice and tone began to gradually improve. No, no. Tsunade's heart was disturbed, and he subconsciously began to deny all this. Sasori was actually right. When he said all this, Tsunade realized that this was the state of mind deep in her own heart, but she had never scrutinized Shizune's feelings. Tsunade just wanted to get from here. Leaving, he didn't want to continue to live in the shadow of Mom. You are a selfish person. Knowing that you cannot detoxify and cannot escape, you are still doing stupid things, and deceiving yourself to comfort Shizune every night, you will definitely find a solution. She left here, and she would respond to you with a bright smile every time. But after you fell asleep, she confessed to you again with a pained expression and howls. Apologize for you. Kneeling on the ground and begging me to let it go past you, please forgive you. Sasori pressed harder step by step, and once again described exactly what Tsunade would do every night, and also described what Tsunade didn't know would happen every night. Impossible. You lie. Sasori's words made Tsunade's emotions a bit out of control. Tsunade's mind was full of descriptions. She fell asleep with Shizune's reassuring smile every night. This is also the motivation that keeps her trying to escape, but Tsunade, I never thought of what Tsunade would look like in front of Sasori after he fell asleep. Shizun's body has reached its limit. As long as I charge her once, her internal organs will rupture and cause irreparable damage. You are a medical ninja. I don't believe you can't see her internal injuries get worse every day. You deliberately chose not to see. You are a medical ninja. I don't believe you can't see that the internal injuries in Shizun's body are getting worse every day. You deliberately chose not to see. Sasori's words penetrated deeply into Tsunade's heart. With Tsunade's ability, how could she not realize that Shizun's body was worsening every day, and even a lot of internal organs in her body still suffered slight loss, but only now did she realize that she had actually subconsciously ignored this. You are an arrogant and selfish person. So everyone who values you will die because of you in the end. Your brother Nawaki, your lovers, 23, break. It's all because you supported them to become Hokage and make Hokage a token, give them to them, and finally they died on the battlefield. You killed them. And Shizun is the next person who died because of your selfishness, and you refused to pay the price and responsibility for your actions. Another deep love, the one who wants you. Just when Tsunade's face showed a look of guilt and despair, it suddenly opened the unhealed scar deep in Tsunade's heart. Shut up. Don't talk anymore. Ouch. The broken appearance of her brother Nawaki and her lover emerged from the bottom of her heart. She had felt guilty many times for not being able to save the two. Tsunade's consciousness had collapsed. As Sasori said, it was because there was no chance to save the two. Now I have a chance to save Shizun, but I chose not to save it. Tsunade has ignored him, hammering mom like an ordinary girl, trying to shut him up, tears can't stop flowing down. And now I am going to punish her in front of you one last time when you are awake. I will not waste my strength to save her. She will die slowly in front of you. With a smile, she will tell you even before she dies, let you live well. It just didn't mean to pity Tsunade. With a finger hook, Shizun and Tsunade were both hung by the string. Shizun, who had fallen into a semi-consciousness, was hung in front of Sasori. Stop. I'll do it. I'm responsible for my own fault. Let me do it. Shizun's expression finally made Tsunade couldn't help it anymore, and started crying loudly. It's the same sentence. I don't like to force others. Do it yourself. I believe you have seen it so many times and you should know what to do. Sasori waited for these words for a long time, and immediately put Shizun aside, and healed ninjutsu on her body, which made Shizun's condition a little better and fell into a deep sleep. The throne of the thread rose behind Sasori. Like a real king, Sasori took the seat steadily, and hooked Tsunade jokingly. Shizun may not know, but Sasori knows very clearly. It was not someone else who appeared in Sasori's secret laboratory, but Yi Kang. Yi Kang with a look of despair on his face. Before everyone could find Sasori's laboratory, Yakura unexpectedly found Sasori's laboratory first. Have you found his hiding place? At the same time, in the three regardless areas of the Kingdom of Wind, the Kingdom of Rain, and the Kingdom of River, Feng Ying is looking gloomily at the Anbu. Not yet, but it can be determined that it is not within the territory of the Kingdom of Wind, and maybe within the territory of the Kingdom of Sichuan. A dozen Anbu bowed their heads, not daring to look directly at Feng Ying's gaze. These days, Sasori would leave Sunagakur every day, apparently to the secret laboratory where Tsunade was held, but no matter how they tracked them, they would be thrown away. Now they can only confirm that the secret laboratory that is exhausted is not in the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. According to the initial experience of making a fortune, everyone believes that Sasori should have placed this secret laboratory in the territory of the Kingdom of Kawan, and Sand Shinobi, nor can he act arbitrarily in the country of Sichuan. Recently, the situation in the entire ninja world has revealed a sense of rivalry, especially not long ago, the country of the earth and the country of the wind brought down the first official meeting between the big countries. Although it did not completely evolve into a war, it was like a signal. The entire ninja world was quieted down by, and the breath before the storm made everyone tense. Everyone wants to be a fisherman, but no one wants to be a frog. Trash. From tomorrow, you don't need to follow me anymore. You are officially incorporated into the first team of the special battle. This was not the answer Feng Ying wanted, and immediately Feng Ying roared. These elites under his staff have never let him down, but they have let him down again and again recently. What's more, he always thinks of the puppets. The affairs of Elder Yun and the land of the earth were done secretly by those around him. Feng Ying's face was extremely ugly. She cursed, and immediately took a deep breath, and waved her hands at everyone. The sudden collision between Elder Yun and the Kingdom of Earth has made Feng Ying realize that these dark people around her have been involved. The problem was solved. Although he didn't know if anyone else had a problem, he had already planned to stop using everyone, and immediately everyone gave the latest instructions. Yes, a group of Anbu trembled slightly, but there was no nonsense, and some bleak disappeared in front of Feng Ying. The first team in the special battle. This name sounds very powerful. To put it bluntly, it is a relatively elite cannon fodder unit. Most of the people who joined this team have gone and never returned. The meaning of Feng Ying is already obvious, and I would rather kill the wrong one. However, he didn't want to investigate who else had problems with these people, so he simply let them all die on the battlefield together. You were late. After calming down, Feng Ying walked alone along the border of the country of the river and the border of the country of rain, walking towards the direction of Konoha, and soon stopped in the Sanshin area of the country of the rain of Konoha. After waiting quietly, Feng Ying opened his eyes for a long time, and said solemnly to a figure who appeared silently. You came early. The person shrouded in the black robe shook his head at Feng Ying, and took off the cap kabuto from his head. It turned out to be Konoha's Danzo. I agreed to the conditions you put forward. Sand Shinobi will help you get what you want, but I need you to do me a favor. Before doing it, I need to clear the internal dissonance. Feng Ying did not waste time, and directly agreed to Danzo's previously negotiated terms with him, and made his own request. The Xia family can be said to have suffered a heavy loss this time, and Feng Ying's henchman Anbu obviously has a traitor, and he is suspicious. Feng Ying immediately didn't plan to use them again. So now if you want to regain the master initiative, then you can only find foreign aid. The only big countries bordering the country of the wind are the country of fire and the country of soil. The country of the wind and the country of soil have just fought, and it is impossible to cooperate. Then Konoha is the only thing left. Are you the Puppet Clan? Danzo smiled sarcastically, and immediately realized who Feng Ying was talking about. Although the Puppet Clan was declining over the years, the skinny camel was bigger than the horse, and the Xia family was not yet an opponent. Yes, it's the same as your Konoha Uchiha clan. Feng Ying heard Danzo's ridicule, and immediately snorted, and dared not show weakness to fight back. Konoha's Uchiha clan is more difficult than Sand Shinobi's Puppet Clan. At least the Puppet Clan has not been a genius except Sasori for a long time, but the Uchiha clan is getting stronger and stronger, and geniuses are constantly springing up like bamboo shoots after rain. Now when it comes to Konoha, the first reaction of everyone is not the Senju clan, but the Uchiha clan. Find him first. The Tsunade you want is in his hands. After you find someone, Tsunade belongs to you. I only want him. After he is killed, I will do something to the Puppet Clan. Sure enough, Danzo's face turned black in an instant, but Feng Ying also knew the measure, and went straight to the topic, and passed the exhausted information to Danzo. Danzo nodded and immediately returned to the shadow before coming. He wanted Tsunade not for a day or two. Now if he has a chance to get Tsunade secretly, he is naturally extremely happy. Glancing at his right arm, Danzo cursed in his heart Orochimaru, who had defected. He wanted Tsunade to have a similar purpose to prostitution. He needed Tsunade's medical ninjutsu skills to help him continue to improve this semi-finished right arm. If I kill these two people, will I be able to regain your heart? In Sasori's secret laboratory, Yekora appeared behind Tsunade, carrying scorch-style chakras Kuwu on Tsunade's neck. As long as she exerted a little force, Tsunade who lost her power would become a corpse. Yi Kang's face was a bit stern. After all, she had followed for so long, and she had some understanding of Sasori's style of acting. After searching for a long time in the territory of Kawa no Kuni, she encountered a seemingly ordinary trap, but Yi Kang knew right away. I found the right place. My heart has never been with you, he will only be with myself. In this world, you can entrust anything to others, but you can't. Sasori's face turned gloomy, and he couldn't answer Yi Kang's question. When he first entered this world, he understood how cruel this world is. In this world, no one can always be reliable, the only one who can believe it only oneself. Then why do you still do something with me? And why do you fight Luasha for me? Your heart is not with me, but my heart is with you. Sasori's answer made Yi Kang go crazy in an instant. Yi Kang always thought that after she had a relationship with him, she occupied a certain place in Sasori's heart. In this troubled time, in order to ensure excellent bloodlines, it is normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Yi Kang never expects to have a complete Sasori. She just hopes to keep her in her heart, but at this moment, Sasori completely treats her. The fantasies are defeated. By the way, crush your dignity. As soon as you get closer, I've found you, but I didn't shoot you because of your things. Dueling with Luasha is also because you are my thing. I can't tolerate other people. Touching my things is like you want to kill them now, and I can't tolerate it either. One good thing about Sasori is that it is really rare to lie. Even if Tsunade, who is important to him, was in the hands of Master Yekora, he still truthfully told Yekora the facts. After speaking, he stood up and stared at Yi Kang steadily. Tsunade took a deep breath, stood up slowly from the ground, took the scroll in his hand without saying a word, spread it out on the test bench, and began to study the research process and operation principle of this technique, only to analyze this in depth. The theory of art, Tsunade prescribes the right medicine and perfects it thoroughly. Very well, to show my sincerity, I will cure Shizune and let her assist you. When Tsunade started working, Sasori nodded at her, holding up Shizune to heal Shizune's internal injuries, and at the same time doing the final treatment of Shizune. Tsunade has taken the first step of the fall, then Shizune can officially ask for the so-called rectification. It naturally means to completely become a person of Sasori, whether it is body or mind. Your actions must have attracted their attention. Because of your performance, you can't leave now. You will be responsible for my daily life in these 2 days. You said that there is a new trick. Now you can give me a try. Sasori held Shizune and passed by Kang, and motioned for her to follow. Yi Kang's actions were beyond his expectation. He didn't expect that the first person to find here would be Yi Kang, so Sasori hasn't been there yet. The habit of destroying his own things with his own hands, I believe Yi Kang has learned a lot this time, and the easier things you get, the less you will cherish. I am afraid that after this time, Yi Kang will never violate Sasori's meaning. When Yi Kang heard that Sasori still remembered what she said, he immediately showed joy, his face turned red, and he immediately followed his mother and moved into another laboratory. A few days later, 2 Konoha's Anbu appeared in the territory of Kawano Kuni, only a few hundred meters away from the entrance of Sasori's secret laboratory. These 2 Konoha Anbus are not ordinary Anbus, but members of the Root, who are only loyal to Danzo. Naturally, they appear here to search for Sasori's location. Is people really in such a place? I am afraid that even Orion can set up such a low-level trap. One of them had just joined Anbu, who had not been rooted for a long time, easily avoiding the grass and revealing half of the trap, and looked suspiciously at the senior next to him. It should be in this area. That ninjas lost track around here, be careful. Another Anbu nodded, something that the idiots of the Kingdom of Wind couldn't do, but Danzo's Roots can easily do it. Every member of the Roots has special skills, and one of them is a member of the Aburame clan. He used the tracer to find here all the way based on the aura left by Yi Kang, and he couldn't be wrong. Suddenly, this Anbu stopped his companion's movements, and someone appeared in his perception. Did you find anything? After a while, a ninja with Sand Shinobi forehead protector appeared in front of the 2 of them. As soon as they met, he asked the 2 Konoha Anbu. Nothing like that. How come you come back here? We should be responsible for this area. Did you find someone? When they saw that it was Sand Shinobi's person, the 2 were relieved immediately. This Sand Shinobi's confidant next to Feng Ying, so they both knew each other. The young Gen immediately explained to Sand Shinobi and proposed him. Doubts. This time I came to search for Sasori. It was not just Danzo. Feng Ying also sent someone, although he confirmed the general direction. Since Yi Kang has been away for a while, the seeker can only find the general range. The people of Feng Ying and Danzo then searched this area separately, and the appearance of Sand Shinobi here is obviously not in compliance, unless they have found someone first. Yes, people are behind you. This Sand Shinobi nodded, and then nodded at the 2 members of the Root with a smile. Immediately, the 2 members of the Roots dispersed on both sides and flicked out the signal flare. But the 2 people just moved, they found that their bodies were out of control, the 2 dialed out the kunai, and the straight kunai pierced the other's heart. Master Sasori. Not far away, walking slowly out of the underground passage, Sand Shinobi knelt down on one knee at Sasori respectfully. How many people are here? Danzo dispatched 18 members of Root, Feng Ying brought 36 absolute henchmen, searching the surrounding area. I believe they will find here soon, and more people have assembled outside Sunagakur. As long as the matter here is resolved, they will launch an attack on the Puppet Clan. Do you notify the Puppet Clan? Sasori sealed the bodies of the 2 rude members into the scroll and nodded at Sand Shinobi. Sand Shinobi immediately reported the data to Sasori and asked if he needed any comments. No, things will be resolved soon. Spray, big handwriting. Sasori waved his hand, and the people outside Sunagakur didn't pay attention. As long as the battle here is over, their existence would be meaningless. Soon after, Sasori asked him again, "Let contact the person you contacted." Master Hidan is already in place. Sand Shinobi nodded. Before coming, he specifically confirmed this matter. Very well, inform others to be ready and wait for my signal. Sasori smiled. If this kind of stimulating battle didn't call Hidan, he would be disappointed. He immediately waved his hand again, and Sand Shinobi nodded respectfully and quickly left. This man is the spies arranged by the Puppet Clan over the years. After Sand Shinobi left, Yi Kang asked suspiciously. Yi Kang's face was always full of differences, standing behind him. He knew the ninja who was kneeling in front of him. He was a ninja of the Shaw family's direct lineage, but he failed to inherit any blood inheritance limits. The only thing is that loyalty and strength are only moderate among Jonin. Yi Kang originally thought he was a spy for the Puppet Clan, but soon Yi Kang discovered something was wrong. When Sand Shinobi mentioned the Puppet Clan, his tone was obviously wrong, as if he was talking about a hostile family. The object of respect is not the Puppet family, but Sasori. I have suppressed the poison on your body, and the strength has been restored. Danzo will leave it to you. I found a helper for you. I can recognize it at a glance. It is obviously a neurosis. Sasori replied casually. At the same time, he squinted at Tsunade beside him with a look that only Yi Kang could see, and then stopped saying more. Yi Kang silently knew that Sasori obviously wanted to hide something from Tsunade, so he closed his mouth very interestingly. Sasori patted Tsunade's shoulder beside him, somewhat in a daze who didn't know what he was thinking, and said to Tsunade in a kind of instructive tone. When Tsunade's body was photographed by Sasori, he instinctively wanted to move, but he abruptly suppressed himself. His face was gloomy, and he walked in a certain direction without saying anything, and the pace was getting faster and faster, like it's the same as trying to escape from this area. Don't forget, Shizune is still in my hands, and the poison on your body is still unsolved. When Tsunade was about to run away, Sasori smiled and shouted at Tsunade's back. Don't worry, I will be back. Tsunade's body trembled, and immediately took a deep breath, disappearing into the exhausted sight without looking back. After Tsunade left, Yi Kang hesitated and asked her mother, "Can you trust her?" "No, she can't wait to break my body into pieces, but she can believe her." Sasori nodded at Yi Kang without any pause. With Tsunade's character, as long as there is any chance of a comeback, he will not let it go, but with the Shizune card in Mom's hand, Tsunade has to come back. And the game has been set up. The next battle will be between him and Feng Ying. Third Cage is known as the strongest Feng Ying in history. Although I am sure to win him, I don't want to jump in the middle of the fight and Danzo will come out to make trouble. Hidan, although his abilities are weird, his strength is not strong, so Sasori asked Tsunade to hold Danzo. Standing behind Shizune looked at Sasori with a look of worship and dependence, without any restriction. Yi Kang's brows furrowed. Shizune's change is what she can't figure out the most. She also understands the relationship between Shizune and Tsunade. It stands to reason that Sasori did something like this to her and Tsunade. It is strange that she didn't kill her mother, but after the treatment for her, she turned out to be like an exhausted servant. Serve exhaustion. Even when Yi Kang and the snails tried new tricks, Shizune took the initiative to add in. From Yi Kang's eyesight, it can be seen that everything Shizune was completely voluntary, and Sasori absolutely did not intimidate her. But when Tsunade is there, Shizune will show a little bit of grievance and reluctance, as if threatening her. This kind of disharmony makes Yi Kang unable to figure out how. Go hunting. Sasori smiled, obviously didn't want to explain the problem, and walked slowly in the direction where Sand Shinobi had left. The next battle will be a big battle. Looking at Sasori with a charming smile, Yi Kang suddenly felt a strange feeling, as if this was not the man who had been on her. From acquaintance to friendship, Yi Kang found that the speed of Sasori's growth is really terrible, and before he knew it, Sasori's body was full of mysteries. It's just that the more such a man, the more excited Yi Kang is, whether it is conquered by him or conquered by him. Immediately, Yekora followed in the direction Sand Shinobi left. Only Shizune was like a wife waiting for her husband to return home. He had been watching Sasori's back disappear into the underground laboratory where the snails had returned. Have anyone guessed why Shizune changed? Due to the rich natural resources of the country, most of the area is covered by vegetation. Feng Ying stands under tall trees, silently waiting for news from others. Only if anyone finds Sasori's traces, he can hear from the wind. To the news. Suddenly, a green signal flare lit up in the sky. Danzo seems to be in trouble. Feng Ying frowned, and suddenly there was a slight explosion sound from a very far distance, where Danzo should be in charge, but Feng Ying did not intend to support it at all. At the beginning, everyone had booked. If Sasori is found, then it will send a red flare. If it encounters an enemy, it will send a green flare. Now Danzo has a green flare. Obviously, he has encountered a tricky opponent. Feng Ying does not plan to support Danzo. But this battle came too suddenly, and a bad premonition rose in Feng Ying's heart for no apparent reason. This flare was like a signal. The whole forest quickly raised several flares one after another, and all of them were Danzo's flare. Something's wrong. Call all those who are searching. Feng Ying immediately realized that the situation was not right, and Sand Shinobi, who was standing behind Feng Ying, released the signal flare for the first time, and the signal flare that summoned the hands soared into the sky. Even if it was blocked by trees, it was still clearly visible. Soon more than a dozen Sand Shinobi appeared by Feng Ying's side. Although people came, Feng Ying's face was extremely ugly. He brought 36 elites to stop him, but now there are only a dozen people. I'm back, what does this mean? Where are the rest? They're all dead. Are you smart this time? You know how to bring more people. Just as Feng Ying looked at everyone with anger, a voice appeared behind Feng Ying. Sasori slowly walked out of the woods with a bright smile. Although there was only one person, it gave everyone an aura of force, and everyone was cheered. I said last time, how do you look down on me, and even such a small number of people want to kill me? After a brief stunned mind, a dozen elite ninjas dispersed, surrounded the center, and attacked Sasori for the first time. Countless kunai and shuriken would all dodge the surrounding space. Wrapped in. Sasori didn't even look at these ninjas, and smiled ridiculously. The next moment, his hands opened, and the ground under everyone's feet shook, and the next moment a huge and exaggerated figure was exhausted. The feet rushed out, blocking all the attacks. Countless dense poison needles and green poisonous mist instantly enveloped the area where everyone was. A puppet dragon with a body length of several tens of meters rushed out from the ground. The next moment the wooden dragon launched an attack on the surrounding people without hesitation. Countless poisonous needles and poison gas came from the surface of the puppet dragon almost instantly. The machine's 23 path shot out, enveloped dozens of ninjas around it, and the horrible howling sounded. Feng Ying's expression was extremely gloomy and looked at the figure slowly emerging from the dense poisonous mist. Sasori walked out of the poisonous fog leisurely, and the huge wooden dragon slowly appeared behind him. The ferocious dragon head gave people a shuddering feeling. First Hokage's wooden dragon. Feng Ying raised his brows in the distance, and he saw at a glance what the puppet prototype made by his mother was. The battle between First Hokage and Uchiha Madara had been remembered by too many people. Imitation, this is the biggest puppet of the master I can currently operate. It's really difficult to operate. As soon as the puppet dragon's head is lowered, it will be exhausted on its head. Mom looks at Feng Ying with victory and condescending. The puppet dragon in her hand is Sasori's highest achievement recently. It is 35 meters long and is full of full body. A large number of organs and weapons are powerful. This is the first time this puppet has been used in a formal battle. It is also a puppet specially prepared for Feng Ying. Do you think you are determined to win? Sasori's eyes and smile made Feng Ying's face even more ugly. What he hated most was that others stood looking down on him from a high place, and immediately sneered at Sasori. It's almost what it means. Sasori shrugged. He never thought about the possibility of losing. He had prepared enough for this day. Rosa has always been my proudest son. Do you know why? Because he inherited my magnet style. Among my many children, the only one who inherited my magnetic flux blood succession boundary. And the reason why I value magnets so much. Style, because magnetic flux is the nemesis of your puppet clan. It's a pity that Luasha is unbelievable and failed to make good use of this ability. I will now show you the true power of magnet style. Magnet style sand and iron world method. Feng Ying looked at Sasori with a sneer, and then suddenly mentioned Luo Sha. He didn't rush to make a move. To be precise, he was waiting for Feng Ying to make a move. It is also at this time that Sasori understands the true meaning of this magnetic flux to Feng Ying. The Sha family has always guarded the puppet family, but the puppet family has expanded a little over the years, and the existence of the 1,000 generations is more like a thorn stabbed in Feng Ying's heart. Therefore, Feng Ying specially developed magnet style, and wanted to show the true power of magnet style in a decisive battle with Chio one day in the future, but over time, he found that Chio had always been very submissive. The puppet family will not have the situation that he is most worried about in the era of Chio's reign, so Feng Ying wants to continue to pass on the magnet style to prevent the puppet family from rebelling in the future, but it is a pity that Feng Ying has many sons. Only Luasha inherited the blood limit of magnetic flux. Originally, he thought Luasha could let the puppets see the true power of magnet style, but he didn't expect Luasha to still not comprehend the essence of it, and eventually lost to Sasori. As Feng Ying roared, countless dense black sand and iron continued to gush out from the surrounding earth, making the entire forest strange like a layer of mist. Magnet style blows fine sand into the gaps in the joints of the puppets, and your puppets become rubbish, and you can't even open the mechanism. Ha ha ha, the puppet clan's strongest seal of puppetry, I want to see it. You still have the means to beat me. Magnet style sand iron sugar. When the sand iron mist and the puppet dragon touched together, the black sand iron suddenly seemed to be alive, and got into the joints of the puppet dragon. The layer of black paint is like zero. Sasori still hooked his fingers with ease. As Feng Ying said, the puppet dragon still became a whole, all the joints were stuck, and due to the absorption of a large amount of sand and iron, its weight was also violent. Increased several times. Before Sasori could take any action, Feng Ying had already launched an attack first, and the sand and iron in midair began to condense, converging into iron balls one after another, shooting from all directions. Sasori released several other puppets in the first time, and the Sancho fish blocked the front, but after being hit by the sand iron ball, a deep groove still appeared, and after the sand iron ball hit the Sancho fish, it immediately renewed. It turned into sand iron, penetrated into the joints of the Sancho fish, and was quickly stuck to death. With the fingers moving, the remaining puppets shot, almost instantly releasing the organs and hidden weapons of the whole body. A large piece of colorful hidden weapons shot at Feng Ying, and the all-metal samurai jumped high and waved. The two-handed sword slashed towards Feng Ying's head. Feng Ying's face was full of pride and disdain. Faced with Sasori's overwhelming attack, she did not move at all. Flew by and shot into the forest in the distance. And when the leaping samurai sword was about to smash the wind shadow, the blade also slanted and hit the ground heavily, and when the samurai body was still in the air, it had been invaded by sand and iron, and it lost the possibility of continuing to control it. Not only the samurai, but even the few puppets around him had the same fate, but the prostitute had expected this a long time ago, so when they were released before being invaded by sand and iron, they had released all hidden weapons and mechanisms. All metals are ineffective to me. My chakra is magnetized, and any weapon with magnetism cannot cause harm to me. Who told you I must fight with puppets? Feng Ying sneered at Sasori, showing that the few puppets had been scrapped by sand and iron, and his final attack was completely unable to cause any harm to him. After the puppetry, what more flowers can Sasori reveal? The sand and iron in the sand and iron world condensed and changed again, and the next wave of Feng Ying's attack began to brew, and the wind shadow standing in the sand and iron world was the king of this domain. Who told you I must fight with puppetry? Looking at Feng Ying with a face holding victory, Sasori shrugged. In this battle, from the beginning to the end, there was no plan to use puppetry to solve the battle. Puppetry is an ability that is used, but it is not the strongest ability. Dead duck with hard beak. Magnet-style sand iron hub. Feng Ying snorted coldly and shook Void's face. A huge palm made of sand and iron appeared around Sasori and shook it down. Dropping ruffian string. Sasori dexterously avoided from the iron sand palm, and at the same time launched a counterattack at Feng Ying. With 5 fingers pulled, 5 transparent silk threads fell from the air and pierced straight towards Feng Ying's location. Feng Ying still didn't want to dodge, but when the line was about to come, his pupils shrank and flashed out quickly, dropping ruffian string shot into the air, deep into the ground. Ah, nasty dangerous intuition, bullet string shoots continuously. Sasori flattened his mouth in disdain. Originally from Feng Ying's posture, he thought he would stupidly resist the dropping ruffian string. Obviously, the master's intuition about danger is still terrible, and Feng Ying is even more so. Arrive. Immediately after Sasori shot his hands and 10 fingers at Feng Ying, the second wave of attacks also arrived. 10 bullet-like bullet strings were shot at the vital points of Feng Ying's body at a very accurate angle, no matter how Feng Ying dodges. At least one bullet string hit his vitals, and Feng Ying wanted to dodge again. In the process of dodge it is almost impossible. Magnet-style sand iron shield. Sure enough, after Feng Ying found that it was difficult to dodge, he decisively gathered a huge sand iron shield in front of him, and wrapped his whole person in. Dang dang, dang. The extremely penetrating bullet string shot on the sand iron shield, making a series of explosive noises, but failed to penetrate the sand iron shield. The defensive power of the sand iron shield is second only to the strongest defense of magnet-style sand iron defense, and it is quick to deploy and consumes little. It is one of the most convenient defenses used by Feng Ying. The face shield forced him to use the strongest sand and iron defense. Super Strike Whip. However, when Feng Ying blocked Sasori's attack, Sasori showed a smile, palms stretched back, and dozens of thin, almost transparent silk threads were sprayed from his palm, and then these threads were wound together to form a line. The thick string column is like a braid, and the string column continues to extend back. Suddenly Sasori slammed his palm at the iron sand shield that was blocking the front of Feng Ying, and the string pillar rushed to the iron sand shield. When the shield that easily blocked the bullet string was easily broken by the overstrike whip, but the wind shadow that was supposed to be behind the shield was nowhere to be seen. Sasori raised his brows, and this time he didn't realize when Feng Ying had avoided it. Magnet-style sand iron strike. I didn't expect you to be able to break my sand iron shield. But it's still a bit too weak. In the next moment, countless sharp cones made of sand and iron fell from the top of Sasori's head like a torrential rain, and instantly nailed Sasori to the ground. Feng Ying hung in the air, and a pair of sand iron wings waved leisurely behind him. Looking down at Sasori who has been shot through, Feng Ying's expression is full of contempt. Only a strong man like him is qualified to look down on others. As this magnet-style sand iron skywing. It is a dream of many people to fly freely in the sky. It's a pity that your wings are too bad, and you are not the only one who can be in the air. Sasori, who was pierced by a sharp cone, raised his head, looking at the pair of sand iron wings behind Feng Ying, showing a disdainful smile. Although this is one of Feng Ying's most famous moves, it is too ugly in Sasori's eyes. As Sasori's words fell into Feng Ying's shocked eyes, the pierced mother suddenly turned into strands of silk and spread out. Me too, dropping ruffian string. At the same time that Feng Ying could not understand at all, Ma's voice suddenly came from behind him, higher in the air. The next moment Feng Ying's back hurt, and he was shot through by 5 transparent silk threads. How could you? Fortunately, Feng Ying reacted quickly. With a wave of the sand iron tianyi behind him, it immediately cut the thread that penetrated Feng Ying's body. When Feng Ying hovered in the air and turned her head back, she discovered that she was standing high in the air, as if she were standing on a flat ground. Suddenly, Feng Ying couldn't accept it. He had already mastered the flying puppet. Feng Ying has been taking precautions. The sky has always been the focus of his surveillance, but Feng Ying has not found any foreign objects in the air. What on earth is Sasori? How did it go up again? Why was it possible to stand in the air so steadily? A series of doubts made Feng Ying totally puzzled. Feng Ying had never thought that she would be injured, let alone lose, when she opened the Sand and Iron World Law, but she was hit by Sasori first, and suddenly Feng Ying's heart felt bad. He had a premonition, as if he had returned to when he was very weak, and there was war everywhere around him, and everyone could kill him at any time. Before your Sand and Iron World Law opened, this place was already covered with lines. This is my secret laboratory, which is equivalent to my lair. Everything is under my control. Parasite string. When Sasori brought Tsunade and Shizune back to the laboratory, he had already set this place as the location for a decisive battle with Feng Ying. Feng Ying's "sand iron world law" is equivalent to his domain. Before the shadow came, he laid down his domain. The entire forest is full of lines that are invisible to the naked eye. Anyone who enters this forest will be spotted by Sasori for the first time. It is easier to hide yourself through the line. When Mom saw the frightened look in Fuying's eyes, the corners of her mouth curled up. Sasori knew that Fuying's heart was upset, and it was time to make the final attack. My body, why is it out of control? Master Feng Ying, be careful. Sasori's finger hooked, and the parasite string was activated. The dozen or so ninjas who had lost their combat power in the poisonous needle and mist suddenly stood up again, and everyone rushed towards Feng Ying as if they had been beaten with chicken blood. Position. Is this the secret technique of Monziman reported by Chio? I am afraid, and there is no chakra fluctuation at all. It's just too weak for me. Magnet-style sand iron lock world. Lock. The panic in Feng Ying's eyes only flashed away, and there was only a slight crack in his heart. When everyone rushed up, he snorted at the crowd, and his hands quickly became imprinted. Immediately, the sand iron in midair rushed to the location where Feng Ying was. The next moment the sand iron exploded suddenly. Like countless chains, it easily pierced the surrounding ninjas who had not died, and died. Deadly locked on the ground, they were completely unable to move. Even with the support of exhausted puppet lines, it still didn't help. Even due to Feng Ying's attack, all the ninjas who had been saved died, and there was no possibility of healing. Squirting, Feng Ying is really cruel, these are the elite of your men. Sasori sneered, and sneered sneerly. Sasori didn't expect to be able to defeat Feng Cage through these ninjas. If you can't help me, it's better not to do it. Magnetic Tongsha Iron Shuttle. The sand iron Tianyi behind Feng Ying flapped, his eyes staring at her coldly. His hands were emptied, and the black sand iron palms were constantly moving in midair, holding onto the position where Xie was. Dropping ruffian string. Sasori flashed quickly, and at the same time launched a counterattack, and several lines fell from the sky. Magnet-style sand iron Shigur. The wind shadow with the sand iron wings has a stronger ability to dodge in midair than on the ground. Sasori's dropping ruffian string attack is too single, and it is easily flashed by the wind shadow. At the same time, the sand iron around Feng Ying continues to become the sand iron ball was shot to the exhaust like a heavy rain. The entire realm of sand and iron law is pressing closer to where Sasori is, giving people a feeling that Sasori will soon be swallowed up. Gradually, he fell into the wind and kept dodge in midair. On the contrary, Feng Ying's offensive became more and more urgent, and he was almost hit by exhaustion several times. Do you think you can dodge my attack all the time? After playing with you for so long, it's time to close the net. Flux Magnetic Lock. The attack of the two chasing and fleeing lasted for a quarter of an hour. Just when no one could help others, Feng Ying suddenly stopped, looking at with a sneer on his face, turning his hands, and the next moment he exhausted and Feng Ying. Suddenly, black sand and iron appeared in all the places that passed by. Feng Ying has been arranging his traps from the very beginning. Every time he slaps the sand iron Tianyi behind him, countless fine sand iron will fly out, suspended in the air, and arranged for so long, Feng Ying has finally begun to close the net. Every grain of sand and iron is far apart, but as Feng Ying activates his magnetic flux, these scattered sand and iron begin to gather together, and soon become sand and iron balls. One by one is vaguely visible. The magnetic light waves of the iron are transmitted between the sand and iron balls, covering all the space where Sasori and Feng Ying are located. As Feng Ying begins to tighten his palms, these sand and iron balls start to shrink rapidly, and the range of Sasori's activities is rapidly reduced. Sasori looked a little flustered, constantly attacking the iron sand balls that are approaching him, but these iron sand balls are difficult to destroy. Even if they are destroyed by exhaustion, they will soon merge with other sand iron balls around. It turned into a bigger ball of sand and iron, and for a while, it lost the way to deal with it. How? This feeling of slow despair is uncomfortable, right? Don't give up and continue to attack. Maybe, you managed to escape. Looking at Sasori, who was still struggling, Feng Ying's face suddenly showed a mischievous smile, and the speed at which the sand and iron balls gathered together began to slow down, gradually condensing into a huge black palm, and slowly pinched Sasori on it. In the palm of her hand, Feng Ying was still taunting at the same time, thinking of what he had done before. Suddenly Feng Ying had an urge to slowly kill him. Ha ha ha, I caught you. A puppet master without a puppet is rubbish. Feel the impending death. The puppet clan will eventually become my puppet. In the end, the black palm was still firmly buckled on the palm. Feng Ying laughed wildly and began to increase the power of the heart of the hall. More and more black sand iron gathered. He had concluded that this was Sasori's. The body, if it is a clone, it is impossible to deal with him for so long, and there is really no puppet. As soon as he thought of his death, it was his turn to attack the entire puppet clan. Feng Ying suddenly laughed wildly. Without the puppet clan, the biggest obstacle, the kingdom of the wind would quickly be his master and become his voice. Moreover, Feng Ying is confident that the kingdom of wind can become stronger quickly. Even Konoha, who is the strongest at the moment, will no longer be their opponent. Go to hell. Magnet-style sand iron hub. When he thought that he would stand at the top of the ninja world, Feng Ying immediately roared, his black palm suddenly tightened, and the sand iron sagged, crushing Sasori completely. It's just that Feng Ying's pupils shrank. Although the prostitute was pinched and exploded, there was no problem with the hand, but the head exposed outside the sand iron did not change at all, and even the blood did not flow out. Hey, who is it that caught who? Do you think you are the only one in the layout? Birdcage. Sasori's head, the only one exposed outside the sand iron, suddenly showed a sneer, and the next moment his exhausted head turned into countless threads of silk. The silk thread rushed into the sky from Sasori's head like a fountain. Feng Ying's face became cold. He didn't expect that Sasori, who had been fighting with him for so long, was still a clone. Just behind him, who was about to dodge, a violent wind suddenly came from behind him. Birdcage was launched, and countless silk threads rushed out of the shadow night string, rushed to the sky and then fell. This process gave Feng Ying time to react. Although Feng Ying didn't know how powerful these lines were, he opened the sand iron skywing for the first time, and wanted to break out of the range where the lines fell. He could definitely rush out before the line fell at the fastest speed. But just when Feng Ying was about to rush out, there was a sudden violent breaking through the air behind him. Feng Ying dodged subconsciously, and saw that the puppet dragon originally corroded by sand and iron rushed up like an iron ingot, and turned straight towards Feng Ying. Sasori was able to lift such a heavy puppet up to the sky. And where does the exhausted body hide and control this puppet? Feng Ying sneered, apparently guessing that she could escape before the line fell, so she counted on this huge puppet that had been corroded by sand and iron to block her own footsteps. Thinking that he has seen through the exhaustion of the tricks, Feng Ying will naturally not waste precious time to escape, and immediately switch angles and fly out against the puppet's body. This puppet has been completely corroded by the sand and iron, and can't twist its body at all, and couldn't open the mechanism. Feng Ying didn't have to worry about it coming back. The only thing he had to worry about now was Sasori, who didn't know where he was hiding, shot. But when Feng Ying was about to break out of the birdcage line, Mom didn't show up. Are you looking for me? Seeing that Feng Ying was about to leave the birdcage line, his body was stunned, and several silk threads suddenly rushed out of the puppet's body, and instantly connected to Feng Ying's body, causing his movement to slow down. I watched the birdcage line land in front of him. The next moment the body of the puppet under his feet was split by the parasite string connected to him, and a whole wooden frame like a coffin rose from the body of the puppet, and the silk thread connected to Feng Ying's body came from this coffin. Stretched out, the silk thread slid, and the coffin split into several pieces, revealing a smile in it. So you have been hiding here, so courageous. Feng Ying let out a cold snort, and immediately the silk thread connected to him was bounced out by his magnetic chakra. At this time, he realized that Sasori was hiding in his puppet. Complete destruction. Sand iron has never missed the perception in these years, which made him have a blind trust in sand iron, which led to this mistake. However, Feng Ying had to say that Mom was really courageous enough to believe so firmly that he would not destroy his puppet. The most dangerous place is the safest place. The puppet dragon's huge body does have a strong attack ability, but it also provides me with a good hiding place. Your sand iron can generate magnetic force on metal, but it will not. Pure wood produces too strong an effect. I can escape your perception of sand and iron just by using the whole wood body of pure wood. Sasori smiled. The puppet dragon he made was specifically designed to deal with Feng Ying. Even if Feng Ying really destroys the puppet, Xie still has enough time to react. From the beginning, Sasori did not expect his puppets to become the main combat power in this battle, because he took out all the puppets early in the morning, and let Feng Ying destroy them one by one in front of Feng Ying. Give Feng Ying a feeling that the puppet master's puppet is vulnerable in front of his sand and iron, and is so arrogant that he does not waste time destroying the puppet. Later, Sasori controlled the Shadow Knight string to constantly fight with Feng Ying. One is to make Feng Ying believe that there is no puppet in front of Sasori's body, and the other is to make Feng Ying appear above the puppet dragon and have the best sneak attack location. Only when Feng Ying thought he had won, he launched a counterattack and completed all the rounds he had set in an instant. Just rely on these lines to block me. Magnetic flux, sand and iron, not attack. Feng Ying's face was extremely ugly. He always thought that he was a trap hunter, but he didn't expect that he was just a prey that fell into someone else's trap. Looking at the birdcage that was slowly closing, Feng Ying sneered again, and immediately countless sand and iron gathered around him again. There is a gap in the line, and Feng Ying can escape from it. How is this possible? But in the next moment, in Feng Ying's exclamation, the warhammer that bombarded the birdcage line was neatly cut into pieces of sand-iron body, and the silk threads did not change at all. Feng Ying seemed to be unable to believe his own research, and immediately backed slowly, while continuously using sand and iron to attack the birdcage line, but no matter what kind of attack it was, he couldn't shake the birdcage line at all. What makes Feng Ying even more shocking is that birdcage is like two worlds inside and outside. Sand and iron are powerful in birdcage, but once they pass through birdcage through the gap of the line, Feng Ying is lost to these sand and iron. Control. As the scope of birdcage became smaller and smaller, Feng Ying's expression began to panic. How? This feeling of gradual despair is uncomfortable. Don't give up and continue to attack. Maybe you managed to escape. Suddenly, Sasori smiled ridiculously, and returned what Feng Ying had said to him before. It was just that Feng Ying's tone was full of brutality and ferociousness, while Sasori's tone was like joking. How is it possible? How is it possible? Stop it. I am the strongest Feng Ying. All of you can only surrender under my feet. You puppets should be suppressed by me. How can you beat me? Thread, stop it for me. It was already a bit violent, and when Sasori returned his taunting words to himself, he became a little crazy, roaring crazy, and even like an ordinary person, desperately hammering with his hands. The birdcage line is still shrinking, but even if Feng Ying's hands become bloody, the birdcage line still has no change. A puppet master without a puppet is rubbish, but even Feng Ying with magnet style can't beat me, a puppet master without a puppet. Why would I not know that your magnet style is the nemesis of the puppet clan? Looking sympathetically at Feng Ying, who has already had some mental breakdown, the more senior people are, the more likely they are to mental breakdown when they are hit, and they cannot accept the reality that they will fail. If third cage knows magnet style best in the world, then he knows magnet style better than him. From the moment he decides to become exhausted, he knows that there will be such a day, combining his own memory and spending countless hours. After investigating the real magnetic flux with time and energy, we finally made today's plan. Perhaps you are right. A puppet master without a puppet is indeed rubbish, but I am not just a puppet master. Puppetry is just my ability to cover people's eyes. It is just a trick on the door for everyone to crack. And this hand ability is my killer copper, at least invincible in this world. It's a pity that I haven't completely awakened him, but it's enough to deal with you. Sasori flicked his fingers. 5 color strings danced on his fingers like a living thing. Every time you use string fruit, Sasori will have a magical feeling. As Sasori's strength became stronger and stronger, and his skills in puppetry became higher and higher, he understood the power of string fruit. It can be easily defeated. String fruit's changeable ability, there is no chakra fluctuation at all. These 2 points alone allow Sasori to occupy an absolute advantage in countless battles, even relying on string fruit's ability achieve the ultimate victory. Gradually, Sasori's puppetry has become his hobby, and it is also the superficial power he shows to the enemy. When the enemy thinks that Sasori can be easily defeated, the ability of string fruit will really make a move, giving the enemy a fatal one. Hit. Magnet-style sand-iron defense. Feng Ying, who had been roaring, suddenly regained consciousness when birdcage shrank to him, and immediately activated his strongest defensive skills with a wild roar. Almost instantly, all the sand iron returned to Feng Ying. An oval sand iron ball appeared around Feng Ying's side. Noise. A sour sound of friction came from between the birdcage line and the sand iron defensive layer, and the sand iron defensive ball unexpectedly pushed the birdcage line forward. Ha ha ha, what if you can trap me? No one can break my absolute defense. As soon as he saw his defense blocking the advance of the birdcage line, Feng Ying immediately began to laugh wildly. There is no absolute defense in this world. There are only sharper spears and sharper shields. Unfortunately, the spear in my hand will be sharper than the shield in your hand. The corner of Sasori's mouth twitched slightly, and he slowly raised his hand. Amidst Feng Ying's horrified gaze, he grasped the void, and immediately stopped the birdcage line outside the sand iron defense. Sand and iron defenses. Puff. At the same time that Sasori's line smashed Feng Ying's strongest defense, Feng Ying's will completely collapsed, and he let out a breath and fainted directly. Seeing that the birdcage line was about to cut Feng Ying completely, Sasori took it away. Birdcage only left countless fine incisions on Feng Ying's body, and then disappeared. The winner, the loser, kill me. When Feng Ying regained consciousness again, he was no longer in the forest but in Sasori's laboratory. He lost all his strength and was fixed on Sasori's laboratory bench. When he saw Xie, there was a trace of fear in his heart, but he still looked at it boldly and dryly. Who said he wanted to kill you? Kill you? My puppets were really destroyed in vain. When Sasori saw Fu Ying's expression, he immediately laughed. He caught Fu Ying, not to kill him, let alone to humiliate him. This is the scroll you asked your son Luo Sha to give to our puppet clan. Do you remember it? Let's take a look now. Feng Ying's gaze was staring steadily, and there was already a strong anxiety in his heart. The next moment he took out a scroll from his arms, and directly unfolded it in front of Feng Ying, completely completing the content of the technique. Show in front of him. How is it possible? This is not the scroll I gave you. The scroll I gave you. Feng Ying glanced at her face suddenly changed. The forbidden technique on this scroll was indeed the one that Luo Sha gave to him, but the content in it is no longer the original one, this one. Forbidden technique is no longer a semi-finished product, but a perfect forbidden technique. It has been modified, the success rate is extremely low, and there are still quite high hidden dangers, right? You let Elder Yun's subordinates in the clan, you think I don't know. You think you want to completely stinks the puppet. The plan of the fame of the family is seamless. It's a pity that you didn't expect that Grandma Qiandai was swallowed by me after getting this scroll. Quote. Before Feng Ying finished speaking, she took it on with a sneer. At the beginning, Feng Ying gave this scroll to the puppet clan by Luo Sha's hand, but it was uneasy. The forbidden technique in this scroll has been tampered with. If you use the technique on the scroll, various problems will occur. Moreover, Feng Ying also let Elder Yun's people, the money is good, spread in the group. This technique can gain immortality, can make the puppet technique stronger, and let the puppet family continue to study this scroll. Once the puppet clan starts research, it must conduct a large number of human experiments, and Feng Ying's plan is to take people to get the puppet clan's stolen goods when the puppet clan conducts the human test, and completely stinks the puppet clan in the country of the wind. Fame, and then slowly put the entire puppet clan master in his hands through other encroachment and merger plans. Although Feng Ying's plan is very good, it is a pity that he did not expect to black out this scroll directly, and Feng Ying did not even expect to complete this forbidden technique to this point. What do you want to do? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.